11 of the Karen Read trial, and I was going to wake up early today, but I was like, you know what? I seriously doubt Jen McCabe is going to go up on the stand today, so I think I could be fine with just doing the catch-ups. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the catch-up. We are going to listen to the cross-examination of Kayleen Albert, where John O'Keefe's body was found. That was the family home that she was living in. And then additionally, we do have some of the friends who are going to testify today. Some of the testimonies are just kind of like, there's like little parts of it that I want to listen to because the rest of it to me just doesn't really matter. But we'll definitely jump around, and then we'll catch up to the one that I'm looking forward to is Julie Nagel's testimony. Sort of, kind of. I actually want to hear from her brother more, if anything. But anyway, so today we have lots of friends, and then Kayleen Albert. And here we go. Today is a half day for court. And I actually have a time limit of how long I have to stream today because I have to be off before someone comes in and does some Windows stuff. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today? Hi, Go Lucky. All right, I'm just going to hop right into it.
Sure.
Hope y'all are doing well.
Good morning.
Ms. Albert, I'd like to go back to a discussion of Katie McLaughlin.
Okay.
Yesterday, I asked you a four-word question,
The paramedic.
and that question was, who is Katie McLaughlin? Do you recall that question?
I do.
You would agree with me that your response was not, she's a firefighter.
Correct.
Your response was not, she's a friend.
Correct.
Your response was not, I've known her for years.
Well, I sort of alluded to that when I said that I've known her since high school.
Right. Your response was that she was somebody that you knew in high school, correct?
I said that I went to high school with her, and she's my same age. We graduated the same year.
Right,
Yes.
so you referenced high school, correct?
Yes.
All right. You would agree with me that you've seen her several times since high school, correct?
Yes.
You have hung out in the same group with her several times since high school, correct?
Yes.
And you
We've got
graduated high school in
pictures.
2014.
Yes.
It is now 2024.
Yes.
Your contact with Katie McLaughlin has been fairly consistent over the years in that it continued at least until 2021, correct?
I would agree with that, although it was far and few between. But
Is that
throughout the
because-
years, yes.
Do you say that because the photographs are far and few between?
Objection.
What's to say?
You would agree with me that there was not a 3-year period prior to January 29th of 2022 where you didn't see Katie McLaughlin at all, correct?
A 3-year period?
Right.
I think firefighter McLaughlin said she hadn't seen her in a couple of years, but then they're like, wait, but we have pictures of you being the same baby shower, like I think a couple months before, right? Was it a couple months before?
I can't say 100% yes to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had seen her at some point in time over the past couple of years and before John O'Keefe's passing. Yeah,
Seen her a couple of times, does that mean that maybe you bumped into her and said hello?
it would mean that we would be in the same place at the same time, not something that I reached out and invited her to in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, again, we have mutual friends, so I would not be surprised if I went somewhere and she happened to be there as well.
Okay. And it would
It's
have
a defense attorney tactic. We see it with a lot of defense attorneys.
been a surprise to you that she showed up at whatever place you were at in those 3 years? Is that your testimony?
No, it would not have been a surprise to me.
You would have known in advance that Katie McLaughlin was going to be at the same place that you were in advance.
Not necessarily, but if,
Ever in those 3 years?
Objection.
Isn't it
We
true
showed the pictures?
that only 8 months before January 29th of 2022, you and Katie McLaughlin were at a baby shower together?
Objection.
yes. Yes, we did.
You were. Whose baby shower was it?
It was a mutual friend of ours.
What's her name?
Her name's Alyssa.
And how many people were at that baby shower?
I can't say for sure. I mean, it was Alyssa's family and a bunch of friends. I can't put a number on it.
The friends all gathered together and took a photo together with the woman having the baby shower, correct?
Objection.
Do we get to see the photo?
I believe so.
You were in that photo, correct?
Yes.
Who was standing next to you?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, if you saw the photo, would that refresh your memory?
Yeah.
May I approach? Yes.
Oh, you
just
get to
gonna-
see the
are you done?
photo. Yes. Put it up on the
Read it.
screen. I'm just going to wait for him to put it up on the screen. Do we not get it on the
Correct.
do we not wait? Oh, do we not get it on the screen? I can kind of see it right here. If you look really closely, there's that. Do we not get it on the screen? Okay, so they're going to talk about them hanging at the beach. Okay, sorry. Let me go back then. My bad.
You've gone to Maine with Katie McLaughlin, have you not?
Objection.
So we need a time frame, Mr. Yannetti, not just
Sure.
10 years ago.
Since high school, you've gone to Maine with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Since high school. When did she graduate high school? Like 10 years ago? Cheryl, I hope you're having a good day. Go Lucky, how are you? Doom 3 gameplay. That's very specific. It's very specific. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna play any Doom games. I wanted to, but it came out at the same time as Animal Crossing back in the pandemic, and I was like, never just bothered to play Doom. But how are you doing today?
Correct?
Objection.
Oh, did you go to Maine with her?
I did, and the the year would have been like 2015 or 2016.
If I suggested it was July of 2016, would that make sense?
That would sound about right, yeah.
While you were in Maine, there were 7 of you in a hot tub together, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were in a
Hot
hot
tub
tub
time
with Katie
machine.
McLaughlin in Maine, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can we see the hot tub photo, please?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
And you drove, correct?
Sorry.
You'd mentioned that you'd been to Maine with Katie McLaughlin in 2016. Where was it in Maine?
I'm not sure the exact town.
Right. Probably 4 hours away?
I'm not sure how long it took to get up there.
It wasn't 10 minutes away?
No.
Right? And it wasn't a half hour?
No.
All right. It was
I wonder if the jury remembers who Katie McLaughlin is. If there's like, who's Katie McLaughlin again?
more than 2 hours, correct?
Maybe.
And you drove, correct?
Yes.
How many days did you spend in Maine?
I'm not sure. Maybe 2.
All right. So you were up in Maine over a weekend
Yep.
with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Yes, as well as a bunch of other friends.
Oh, of course. But the answer to my question is you were with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Objection.
You hear the tone? Oh yeah, of course. Like the tone. Oh my goodness, it's a good way to get underneath the witness's skin, and also it kind of like gives a jury like, oh well, there's something alarming going on. This guy has an accusatory tone. There must be a reason why, right? There must be a reason for it.
Sustained.
How many times have the two of you been to the beach together?
Oh,
since
gardening,
high school?
fine.
Jack.
Do you know? If you can answer that, go ahead and answer.
I know that we have been to a beach together, but I don't know how many times. I could guess.
Don't guess.
Okay.
Next question, Mr.
You
Yannetti.
said a beach. Does that mean that the two of you only go to one particular beach?
No.
You've gone to multiple beaches with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Not that I can remember. I can't remember how many times. I have one memory, but I can't say for sure how many times I've been to a beach with Katie McLaughlin.
Okay. If I showed,
You can show her a photo.
again, I'm showing you S for identification, one particular photo in S. If you take a look at that and look up at me when you're done. Does that refresh your memory?
Yep.
That particular photo that I showed you from S for identification, what beach was that?
I don't know the name of the beach.
Where was it?
I believe somewhere in the Cape.
And Katie McLaughlin is in that photo, correct?
Yes, along with a bunch of other friends.
Of course, there are other friends, but you.
Mr. Yannetti, please no more, of course.
Of course, Your Honor.
He was doing so good with the of course. Oh yeah, of course. It's like a tone you use when you're trying to make someone feel like, okay, sure, yeah.
With regard,
Is that the judge laughing?
to that photo, once again, you are right
I
next
want to see Mr. Yannetti's face.
to Katie McLaughlin. Were you not right in back of her?
She's in front of me, yes, and the mutual friends that I already said that we have are also in the photo.
Of course. Let me ask you this: Has anybody in this,
Jurors, I'm going to strike that, of course.
has anybody
He can't help it. He's like, but judge, this is my tactic.
in this courtroom today asked you about the other mutual friends who were there?
Hi, Austin.
Did I ask you today whether there were other mutual friends in that photo?
Objection.
Sustained.
You added that to your answer, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
Yes.
Who were your college roommates?
Objection.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Who were your college roommates?
Yeah, sustained.
How many college roommates did you have?
Objection.
Sustained.
I guess a foundation,
Just
maybe?
say that
Wait a second. I don't know. I mean, if Katie McLaughlin was her college roommate, no fucking way. No fucking way. I don't think so, though. I think he's trying to get to something, but we don't know.
Katie McLaughlin has been with you and your college roommates.
Yes.
When was that?
2015, 2016?
And there were 2 college roommates that you and Katie McLaughlin were with, correct?
Oh, okay.
I had multiple college roommates at that time, and 2 of them were the mutual friend that Katie and I share.
And in fact, there was an occasion where you were in a kitchen with your 2 college roommates and 1 other person, correct?
Objection.
Need a time frame or something, Mr. Yannetti?
Or that was around 2016, was it not?
That sounds about right, yes.
I think you mentioned it
and do
earlier,
you
no?
recall which college roommates they were?
Objection.
Sustained.
And someone took a photo of you, your 2 college roommates,
Oh, it's another photo he's trying to introduce in. Okay.
and 1 other person, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
In 2016.
Objection.
Sustained.
Sidebar. We doing the sidebar today? Trying to get a little glimpse of it.
Who's in that photo?
Myself, 2 of my college roommates, and Katie McLaughlin.
Okay. So Katie McLaughlin's the only one in that photo who's not one of your roommates, correct?
Yes.
And was this a situation where she just showed up unexpectedly like all the other times? You had no idea she was going to be there?
Objection.
Ask the question differently. That it's sustained in that form.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you expect, by the way, whose kitchen is that?
It was the college house that I lived in.
So your kitchen.
The house we were renting, yes.
You lived in that kitchen.
Yes.
And Katie McLaughlin's in your kitchen, correct?
Yes.
Who invited Katie that day?
The two mutual friends that I lived with.
Okay. Certainly you didn't invite Katie, correct?
I did not.
Because you're not close friends with her at all, correct?
I am not.
In fact, you don't really like her very much, do you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Yeah, I was like, is there beef with her and Katie McLaughlin? It seems like they've had so many occasions where they've been together in the same space, circle, but they just like distance themselves from each other. There's some beef going on. Maybe Yannetti knows. You don't like her very much. Hold on. How would this help Yannetti, though? The fact that they have beef between the two of them. Isn't he trying to show that they're like really tight with each other, willing to lie for each other, willing to be biased, prejudiced for each other?
Correct?
I am not.
In fact, you don't really like her very much, do you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You guys were teammates on the track lacrosse country team back in high school, correct?
I don't recall that, actually. We could have been. I'm not sure.
If I may approach?
Yes.
Is that a school newsletter?
Having reviewed those 2 pages, does that refresh your memory about your teammate, Katie McLaughlin?
Yes, it does.
And you certainly were teammates in high school, correct?
Yes.
Go up with the clerk, Ms. Giannetti.
You tested your parents' home on January 29th of 2022 after you got there, correct?
Again, yes, because me and my parents were the first ones inside from what I remember.
Did you see what Brian Higgins drove to get there?
I did not.
You did not see where he parked his vehicle.
I did not.
At some point, you saw him inside the home, correct?
Yes.
And he made it into the kitchen and dining room area where you were, correct?
Yes.
You agree that at some point, Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, left that area to go to another room, correct?
Yes.
So it's fair to say there was at least some portion of the night when Brian Higgins and your father were out of your field of vision, correct?
I don't agree with that because the room that I had seen them go into has an open doorway and you can see right into the family room that they were in. So I could actually see them in there.
Gotcha. How long were you there when Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, were there?
Inside the family room?
I'm talking from that whole night. When you were at 34 Fairview, how much time lapsed between the time you first saw Brian Higgins and Brian Higgins left the residence?
I can't say for sure. If I had to estimate, I'd say an hour and a half.
Okay. And so your testimony before this jury is for that full hour and a half, there was no time when Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, were out of your field of vision.
Not that I can remember.
Now, earlier that evening on Friday, January 20th,
Do I think he should be found guilty or innocent? I mean, we have a long way to go, but at the same time, we are in day 11, and I'm already kind of like, I'm trying to be patient. Hello, official Xavier Barrett. Hoy, what's up? How are you doing today?
you made plans to go out with your mom, Nicole Albert, your aunt, Julie Albert, and your boyfriend, Tristan Morris, correct?
Yes.
From the beginning of that night, the plan was for Tristan to go
Do
home.
I think she's guilty? I don't fucking know. Her doing it would be the easiest explanation. Getting in a fight with your boyfriend, you're angry, you back up to him. Maybe you didn't mean to hit him. But I just don't fucking know. I don't know. It's like, this case is like, there's so many crazy things that happened during the investigation. And then we're already in some of the key witnesses. There's some more witnesses that we're waiting to hear from. But I don't know. There's just so many fucking questions. And then we went through some of the witnesses that I thought were going to provide the answers to those fucking questions. And that never happened. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know. Yeah. I don't have enough to say anything at this point. I'm just kind of sitting here. I'm just like, this investigation kind of sucked. Hi, Wahoo. How are you doing today? Good morning. Hello, lady. Hello. You're Gucci. How are you? I'm doing okay. Just chilling. I find it hard to believe a cop would kill him and just leave him out in the front yard. Yeah. I have questions on both sides. I have a hard time believing that a house full of people would be like, you know what? Let's just leave him in front of the front yard. Let's just leave him in front of our yard. Like, let's just leave him right there. You know, and not like they have like in the back of their backyard. There's like woods back there. There's railroad tracks back there. It's also like how many people were there, right? Like a good amount of people versus the word of one person. They could have just been like, oh, you know, John, like for some reason, I guess he got in a fight with Karen and he was being really aggressive. And then like, you know, he was being really aggressive towards my kid. And then like one thing led to another and we're just trying to defend ourselves because John was going crazy. I don't know. I felt like could have said that. I don't know. There's just both sides. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I honestly don't. I honestly do not know. I have a lot of questions, and I feel like the more that I'm listening to this, the more questions I have, and things are just not being answered.
Early, correct?
Yes.
And that was because he had to get up early to plow or shovel, correct?
Yes.
He had to get up really early, correct?
Yes.
The plan was for him to shovel or plow at 3 a.m.?
He was, from what I recall, he was on standby for like 3. It could have been any time after that.
Oh, I see. So it could have been that he had to get up at 3 or maybe a little bit later, correct?
Yes.
And it was for that reason that when he was at the waterfall with you, he only had a couple of drinks, correct?
From what I remember, yes.
And from the beginning of the night, you knew that it was going to be iffy as to whether he would be able to get much sleep at all, correct?
It wasn't really something we discussed.
Well, the reason he was going home early and only having a couple of drinks was to see if he could catch some sleep before what would be a very difficult work morning, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that in order for him to get any sleep, he couldn't stay at the waterfall very long, correct?
Yes.
And that's why he left early.
Yes, he went home to rest. We didn't speak about whether or not he would be sleeping.
It wouldn't shock you if he tried to go to sleep.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
You stayed believing that Tristan was going to try and rest and sleep, correct?
Yes.
And the plan when he left you was that you wouldn't see him again until after he was done with his plowing that morning, correct?
That's incorrect.
Yeah, so her boyfriend Tristan left the waterfall, the bar that they were at, early because he was on standby to possibly snowplow, like 3 a.m. in the morning or something like that. Tristan lives about 30 minutes away from her parents' house. So Tristan goes back home to like rest, and then we don't know if it was always the plan for Tristan to come back 30 minutes, to come pick her up at like 2 a.m., and then another 30 minutes drive back home. That could have always been the plan. Or people could have just been like, oh, that's a little bit weird. Why would you have your boyfriend come do like an hour round trip to pick you up? Did something happen?
Okay, so is it your testimony that the plan from the beginning was that Tristan was going to drive from Canton to Easton and get some rest, and then drive from Easton to Canton to pick you up so that he could take you back from Canton to Easton? That was the plan?
It may not have been set in stone, but it was definitely spoken about, and then that's what ended up happening. Yes.
Have you ever told anyone that before, Ms. Albert, that the plan from the start of the night was that Tristan was going to make 4 trips
What was that noise?
total from Canton to Easton, Easton to Canton, Canton to Easton? Have you ever told anyone that before?
I don't remember if I mentioned that to anybody.
That was the first time you've ever said that just now before this jury. Would you agree with that?
I believe so.
Almost 2.5 years after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that you decided at 1:45 in the morning that it was important for you to get home?
At 1:45, around that time, is when Tristan picked me up. A little bit after that, but I didn't
Hi,
want to get
Joe.
snowed in at my parents' house.
It was important for you to leave 34 Fairview, correct?
I wouldn't say important, but it was something that I wanted to do.
It was
Yes.
important enough for you to leave, correct?
Yes.
And you made the decision to have Tristan drive from Easton to Canton to pick you up, correct?
Yes.
How far is it from Easton to Canton?
From our apartment in Easton to 34 Fairview Road is about 18, 19 minutes.
Okay, and that's when there's not a snowstorm inside, correct?
Correct.
Of course, in a major snowstorm, you certainly can't drive as carefree as you can when you're driving in good road conditions, correct?
Right.
And your boyfriend was making that trip multiple times that night, correct?
Yes.
When Tristan picked you up at 1:45 a.m., did you bring Chloe out of the house with you to take to your apartment?
No.
Okay. On January 29th of
Are they trying to say that's why Chloe wasn't there?
2022, you were there at your parents' house from around midnight until about 1:45?
About a little bit after 1:45, yes.
Okay, and during that span of time, almost 2 hours, you never saw anyone pull up outside, correct?
I personally did not.
No. And you personally did not look out the window either, correct?
No, I did not.
And you
So her saying that she doesn't want to be snowed in her parents' house, that can make sense. And then also maybe she was just like, oh, hey, like, you know, I just want to hang around for a little bit instead of leaving with her boyfriend initially because it was her brother's birthday. She wanted to celebrate. She wanted to see him later on after midnight, maybe.
personally never heard anything out of the ordinary outside, correct?
That is correct.
Right. You never heard any yelling, correct?
Hi, Joseph.
That is correct.
No screaming,
Correct.
nothing smashing into anything else,
Correct.
no revving of tires,
Correct.
no noises
tires.
outside,
Correct.
nothing attracted your attention.
Correct.
You never saw any vehicle backup lights.
Correct.
You never saw any red lights outside.
Correct.
You heard zero evidence of anything that would lead you to conclude that there had been some type of car accident outside.
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently, Ms. Giannetti.
You didn't hear a car accident.
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Oh, I'm on Court TV right now. Is that why the audio is low? When I was on Law and Crime, the audio is so much better. Because I haven't had audio issues all this week. I think it's just low in Court TV.
When you left 34 Fairview at 1:45, which door did you use?
I think I walked out the front door.
And the front door, could I have Exhibit 66, Mr. Davis? Exhibit 66, it's lit up. I'd like to ask you some questions about what you saw, or take that off the screen. Coming out the front door of your house, you would agree with me that your parents' front lawn is directly in front of you, correct?
Yes.
By that time, snow had started to accumulate at 1:45 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
I did not.
As you stepped out of the house, did you see a black sneaker?
I did not.
Did you see 45 pieces of red taillight plastic?
I did not.
No. Did you see one piece of red taillight plastic?
I did not.
Did you see a 6'2" man on your parents' front lawn in front of you?
Objection.
Did you?
I did not.
You saw nothing unusual on that.
Well, I mean, they could have dumped it on someone else's lawn. They could have dumped it in the backyard where the wooded area was, dug a hole in there, the railroad tracks. Like, it's a lot of better places that you could dump someone and not in your front yard. Unless if they knew that him and Karen were arguing. But it seems like if there were any arguments, it would have happened in the car when no one was around. I don't know. This whole thing is just really fucking weird. Really fucking weird. Hi, Rain. How are you doing today?
Front lawn of your parents' home, did you?
I did not.
Now, Tristan had parked in the driveway, correct?
I believe so.
When I say Tristan, I'm referring to Tristan Morris, who was your boyfriend, right?
Yes.
As you face the house, that driveway is to the right, correct?
Yes.
And as you're coming out of the house, the driveway is to the left, which makes sense, right?
Yes.
Where in the driveway was Tristan Morris parked?
I don't remember if he was on the left. My guess would be the left side of the driveway because that would have been closest to me walking out of the house. But I can't say for sure exactly where he was parked in the driveway.
In any case, you walked to his vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And actually, when I say his vehicle, it was actually your vehicle, right?
Correct.
That was the Jeep that you had at that time?
Yes.
And as you were walking to that vehicle, you would agree with me there were no obstructions between you and your parents' front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And as you were walking to that vehicle, again, no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red taillight, and no 6'2" man did you see on your parents' front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And there were no, strike that. After you got into the vehicle, you got into the passenger's side
Yes.
because you had been drinking that night, correct?
Yes.
And it wouldn't have made sense for you to drive home to Easton, correct?
Correct.
So Tristan Morris backed your Jeep out of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
And the tail end of that Jeep, when he backed out, would have gone toward Cedar Crest, correct?
Correct.
Which would mean that the car was now facing toward the Chapman Street side, correct?
Yes.
It would have passed a flagpole, right?
And that would mean that your Jeep, being driven by Tristan, would have driven directly by your parents' full property line, correct?
Correct.
And you were on the passenger's side of the car, correct?
Correct.
The passenger side was closest to your parents' front lawn as you were driving away, correct?
Yes.
And you drove past the front lawn, correct?
Yes.
You drove past the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And in all that time, from when Tristan Morris pulled out of the driveway and drove right by your parents' front lawn, you never saw anything of the things that I previously asked you about, correct?
I did not, but I also was not looking.
You saw no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red plastic, and no 6'2" man, correct?
They may have dumped him by the road because of the blizzard. They knew a snowplow would be coming. Maybe try to make it look like if it's a snowplow had smacked him dead. Yeah, possibly. At the same time, it's also like, but I don't think there was even a lot of snow on the ground at that point, you know? Not a lot of snow on the ground. That also risks the snowplower seeing John O'Keefe's body outside and reporting it. I don't know. There's so many weird shit with this where I'm just like, how did anyone not see him? How much snow was on the ground? It seems like snow didn't start coming down hard until like later on. And then like, we need a meteorologist. Get the fucking meteorologist in here.
Correct, but I also was not looking out my window.
Has anyone said they saw John arrive at the party? Mm-mm. Everyone that was inside the house so far that has testified said John never made it inside the house.
Let me ask you this. Did anybody in this courtroom ask you if you were looking out your window?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
That was an answer to a question that nobody asked you, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, at this point, you would agree with me that you've essentially circled your parents' front lawn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you came out the front door and were facing the front lawn, correct?
Correct.
Then you're walking to the left, which means that the front lawn is to your right, correct?
Correct.
Then you're backing up out of the driveway, which means the front lawn is still to your left.
But then, like where John O'Keefe's body was found, there are no street lamps on that side of the road. So possibly not illuminated enough to see if it's really dark. I don't know if there's street lamps on the opposite side of the road. But I mean, I'm sure the jury, when they went there, they probably took note of that. But they went there during daytime, not dark time, you know?
Correct?
Correct.
And when Tristan pulls the car such that when Tristan Morris pulls the car such that the car is now operating parallel to your front lawn, now
There's not a lot of snow on the ground, but the TV channels had predicting a massive whiteout 24/7. But like, imagine going on the snow with a dead body, and then you realize, oh fuck, there's not a lot of snow on the ground. I'm just gonna leave the dead body here, right? If there was like a good amount of snow, you throw him in there. That way, he's kind of like hidden in the snow, and then you hope the snowplower will come by and plow through him. I don't know, maybe, but like going out there with like barely any snow.
the front lawn's to your right, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to all of that time that you were circling that front lawn, you never saw anybody or anything out of the ordinary on that lawn, correct?
I did not.
And you also
Or they could have just been really fucking drunk. They weren't thinking. I don't know.
didn't see any
Drunk off a
tire
White Claw.
tracks in the snow,
Bud
did you?
Light.
Not that I can remember.
I'll make a moment.
Yes.
Courtney Proctor, is that right?
Yes.
And you were asked about whether or not you met her kids, and you said once. Can you explain that?
From what I
Okay,
can
I'm gonna skip through this. Let's go to. So this is her boyfriend right here, and oh my goodness, wait until you hear this from the boyfriend. Oh,
It was.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Ms. Giannetti, can you?
I need to boost the audio for this one. This is her boyfriend. They're still together.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm sorry. So when you were driving from Easton to Canton, it was snowing. Do you recall how much snow had come down at that point?
I don't recall.
And what, if anything, do you recall about sort of the snow that was on the ground in relation to how you drove from Easton to Canton?
I was very cautious. I was 10 and 2 the whole time.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview, where did you park?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether you parked on the street or the driveway? Or...
No, I don't know.
And when you arrived, what, if anything, did you communicate to Caitlin?
I just told her I was here.
Was that through a text or a call? Did you know?
Text, it would be.
You pull up at some point, park somewhere, text her your correct?
Yes,
And at some point, she comes out of the house. Is that correct?
correct.
Did you ever get out of the car or go up to the house or go inside the house or anything like that?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see a 6-foot man on the yard? How was the visibility? Was it dark there? Are there street lamps there?
And how much time was it between the time that you texted her that you were here to the time that she came out?
I don't remember.
Was it a long time or anything like that?
No, it wasn't.
And when she comes out, do you recall sort of where within the front of the house she came out?
No, I don't remember.
For no one to see him inside the house, especially when they claimed there was a fight, pretty sure everyone would have seen him and remember him inside. Well, the explanation to that would be the people inside the house are all in on it because they don't want to be accused of his murder, right? So maybe something did happen and they're all trying to lie about him coming inside. That was that seems to be the defense's theory.
You're familiar with 34 Fairview, though, correct?
I am.
And there's a couple different doors on the front of the house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you don't recall specifically which door she came out of?
No, I do not.
And when she came out, she came over to the car, correct?
Correct.
She gets in. Which part of the car did she get in?
Passenger.
Front seat passenger?
Front seat passenger.
And at some point, you're leaving from 34 Fairview and you're going back to Easton, correct?
Correct.
Was there any sort of delay or any sort of long period of time that you were in the car in front of the house after Caitlin gets in the car?
No.
So essentially, she gets in and you pull away.
Correct.
And when you pull away from the house, where do you recall which direction you went into to go back to Easton?
I went up Fairview Road.
And so up Fairview Road would be sort of heading towards Chapman Street, is that correct?
Yes.
And so as you're going by the house, which side of the vehicle would have been facing the house? Either the driver's side of the vehicle or the passenger side?
Can you repeat that?
As you're going by the property at 34 Fairview Road,
Yeah.
which side of the Jeep that you were driving was facing 34 Fairview Road? Was
The
it your
left.
side or her side?
My side would be facing the street. If I'm coming down, my side would be facing the left side.
And what I'm asking is when you're driving away.
Away, yes, the passenger side would be facing her house.
And as you were coming there, would it be the driver's side or your side that was facing the house? If you recall which way you came.
I don't recall.
But as you were leaving the house, Caitlin's side or the passenger side would be facing the house, correct?
Correct.
And as far as the snow that's coming down as you're driving away, what, if anything, did you have to do with regard, or what, if anything, did you do with regards to the vehicle? Did you turn anything on or anything as you were driving?
No, I did not.
So did you have a defroster on?
Yes.
And did you have windshield wipers on?
Correct.
So the snow was coming down at least at a pace that you had the windshield wipers on, correct?
Yes.
And during that drive, specifically on Fairview Road, but at any point during your drive to Fairview and from Fairview, do you recall anything as far as how
I mean, it
roads
could still be a little bit of snow coming down when you would still want to have your windshield wipers on.
were they treated? Did you see plows out, anything like that?
I don't recall.
Can I have one moment? Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, so cross-examination.
During that time that you were waiting for Caitlin to come out of the house while you were in
So the boyfriend was hanging out with Caitlin and her family at the waterfall. He decided to leave early because he might be on standby for snow plowing at 3 a.m. He came to pick up his girlfriend. Their apartment's about 20 minutes drive, but in the snow, probably a little bit longer. He came to pick up his girlfriend around 1:30, 2 a.m.-ish, and came and take her back because she didn't want to be snowed in her parents' house. Now, Just listen.
in the driveway, there was nothing obstructing your view of the front lawn, correct?
Nope.
All right. And shifting gears for a second, this was on January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, you did pick up Caitlin and take her back to Easton, correct?
Correct.
On January 29th, at any point that day or night, Trooper Michael Proctor never interviewed you, correct?
Correct.
Nope.
Nor did he interview the next day or the day after that, correct?
Correct.
Or the
Nope.
month of February.
He's a snowplow man? No, that's going to be a separate one. There's a separate snowplow man that will probably testify for the defense later down the road. He is just the boyfriend, and then he also happens to do like snow shoveling and stuff like that.
Correct?
Correct.
Or the entire year of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Or the entire year of 2023, correct?
Correct.
The first time
No one fucking interviewed this guy.
any investigator of this case interviewed you was May 7th of 2024, correct?
Of what now? A 2020 what now? He said May 7th of 2024. That was 7. That was a week ago.
When was that? I don't.
That was 1 week ago. That was last Tuesday.
Correct.
You were aware at the time you were being interviewed for the first time by any investigator, this case had already started.
Yes.
You were aware that this jury heard opening statements from both counsel on April 29th, which was over a week before May 7th, correct?
Wait, so was he interviewed by investigators, right? May 7th? What about Lolly? Mr. Lally, did you not know about this guy?
Yes.
So it wasn't until over a week after opening statements that somebody from the state police finally interviewed you, correct?
Nobody from the state police interviewed me.
Who was it that interviewed you?
Nobody interviewed me. I spoke to the DAs about coming in here. That was about it.
Okay, I thought you had just testified that on May 7th, that was the first time an investigator reached out for you.
Oh, maybe he's getting investigator and DA mixed up.
Yes.
All right. And when I use the term interview, I don't mean that somebody put a bright spotlight on you and took you into an interrogation room. I'm just asking, did somebody ask you questions?
Yes.
Objection.
I'll let it stand.
Thank you, Ron. And that interview did not take place in person, correct?
No, it did not.
That was a phone interview, correct?
Correct.
And your attorney was on the line for that, correct?
Correct.
It wasn't even an in-person interview. Oh, boy.
Now, from the beginning of the night on January 28th, your plan was to go home early, correct?
Correct.
You weren't drinking much, correct?
That is correct.
You had to get up early.
Yes.
And it actually was really early. It could have been as early as 3 a.m., correct?
Correct.
So from the beginning, you knew that you weren't going to get much sleep, correct?
Yes.
And if you were going to get any sleep, you couldn't stay at the waterfall all night, correct?
That is correct.
So you left early.
Yes.
And you planned to go home, get whatever rest or sleep you could get, and then wait for the call to go out plowing, correct?
That is correct.
The plan from the beginning was not for you to leave the waterfall, go to Easton, and then drive back from Easton to Canton to pick up Caitlin, and then take her back to Easton so that you could wait for the call for plowing. That was not the original plan, correct?
No, it wasn't.
No, of course it wasn't. So I apologize, Ron. I withdraw that comment.
Did he say, of course? Sorry.
But the plan changed, correct?
Yes.
And that was because you heard from your girlfriend, Caitlin, correct?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you a question and hope I get an answer. Do you recall what time it was that she contacted you?
No, I don't recall.
Did anybody instruct you not to talk about any times that anything happened?
Absolutely not.
How did Caitlin contact you that night?
Via text, via phone.
And you were in Easton when she did that, correct?
Yes.
She was at 34 Fairview?
Yes.
And by the way, the snowstorm was no surprise to you that night, right?
No.
I mean, that's why you were waiting to plow, correct?
Yes.
That snowstorm had been forecast.
Yes.
And it had started snowing by midnight, correct?
I don't remember when it started snowing.
But for some reason, Caitlin now needed to get picked up before you went plowing, correct?
Yes.
That meant, despite the fact that you had to get up potentially at 3 a.m., you now had to make the trip back and forth between Canton and Easton a second time, correct?
Yes.
And you considered it to be important enough that you agreed to pick up Caitlin, despite the changing plan, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Hi, Nicole. No, I didn't wake up early today. I was like, I don't think Jen McCabe's gonna go on the stand today, and I feel like the witnesses are gonna go up and gonna be like, eh. So I was like, I'm sleeping in.
When you pulled into that driveway, you at least temporarily parked in the driveway waiting for her, correct?
Yes.
What other cars were in the driveway at that time?
I don't remember.
What side of the driveway did you park on?
I don't remember.
After you parked, you texted Caitlin to tell her that you were there, correct?
Yes.
And you previously testified that you don't remember how long it took for her to come out of the house, correct?
I don't remember.
And I started to ask you, and I'll just finish that line of questioning. At that point, the front lawn of the house was to your left, correct?
It would have been yes.
Right. And there were no obstructions between you and the front lawn blocking your view, correct?
I wouldn't be staring at her grass, so no.
Okay. I didn't ask you where you were staring. I was just asking if there were any obstructions.
Okay, yeah.
And the answer to that question is,
No.
was snow starting to accumulate at that time?
I don't remember.
you recall if there was any snow on the ground?
Yes, because I was driving cautiously.
And against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
Absolutely not.
And as you sat in that driveway, you also did not see a black sneaker?
Absolutely not.
And you also did not see 45 pieces of red plastic?
No.
Or even one piece?
No.
And you certainly did not see a 6'2" man on the lawn of your girlfriend's parents' home, correct?
No, I did not.
You saw nothing unusual in that front area of the lawn, correct?
No, I did not.
Caitlin got into the Jeep.
Correct.
The plan was for you to drive the Jeep back to Easton with her, correct?
Yes.
You backed out of the driveway, correct? And you turned the rear end of that car toward Cedar Crest, correct?
Not towards Cedar Crest. I was going up the hill. So
Okay,
to Fairview.
if I suggested to you that going up the hill would take you towards Chapman, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and the other end of the street was Cedar Crest, right?
Was that way? Yes.
Okay, so the rear end of your car was towards Cedar Crest and you were facing up the hill towards Chapman, right?
Yes.
All right. That would have meant that you were driving your vehicle past really the entire length of Brian Albert's front lawn, correct?
Yes.
And the front lawn would have been on Caitlin's side of the car, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you drove past the flagpole that you're familiar with, correct?
Yes.
And as you drove past that entire front lawn, you never saw any of the things I previously asked you about, the baseball hat, the sneakers, the pieces of red plastic, or a 6'2" man, correct?
I did not.
You saw nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And you saw no tire tracks in the snow leading to the Alberts front lawn, did you?
I did not.
You didn't see anything that would lead you to conclude that there would have been a car crash there, correct?
Absolutely not.
Sustained.
Okay, so that's her boyfriend. Next, we're gonna listen from her. I think she's one of Brian Albert Jr.'s friend. And what do we get out of her? Let's see. So she was there when the parents arrived back home from Waterfall to the house. She can talk about maybe when Colin left and maybe about if she heard or saw anything.
Over the course of the evening, do you recall anybody from that group of people sort of going anywhere else in the house that you saw?
Not that I remember.
This is what's her name again? Not Julie Nagel. Julie Nagel's the one where her brother came to pick her up. She's the other friend that was there. I think Sarah, I think that's her name.
And with respect to the house on Fairview Road, you're familiar with where the basement is located in the house, is that correct?
Yes.
And
And
at
she's a
any point in
nurse.
time in the evening, did you see anybody from that group, either before or after, go anywhere near the basement?
Wait, what was the best part?
Going to go into the basement area?
No.
Now, with respect to the sort of mood and demeanor after these other folks come by, do you know about what time it was that those people started coming back in from wherever they were coming?
12:15. It wasn't that long after it struck midnight.
Because initially I was like, how are they so sure about 12:05, 12:10, 12:15? But it would make sense if they're counting down to midnight for Brian Alberts Jr.'s birthday.
So sometime after the strike of midnight, these other folks start to come back to the house.
Correct.
Why the boyfriend came back to get her? We did get through that. Because initially, like, she didn't want to get stuck there in the snow. He came back to pick her up because she called him, and then he didn't see anything unusual
And from that period,
when picking her up.
12:15 or so, from that period, about how long was it after that that you were at the house on Fairview?
Hi, Amber.
I left between 1:30 and 2 a.m.
So about an hour and a half or so after they got there.
Correct.
Now, with respect to that hour and a half or so after they got there, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor within the home during that?
Same thing. We were celebrating, happy, dancing, all that.
The drinking continued, correct?
Correct.
No issues or arguments or anything that you observed, correct?
Correct.
Now,
Lolly's like barely speaking to the microphone.
area of the kitchen dining area, at some points, do you recall where people were? I'm talking later in the evening when the folks come back to the house after midnight. Do you remember where those people were sort of situated around the kitchen dining room area at that time?
Yes.
And could you describe to the jury sort of where they were?
So the dining room table is a square. So, and it was in front of the front window. So in front of the front window where their back would be to the window was my friend.
Oh, really? Was there more? Okay, I could pull it back up. Let's see.
And it actually was really early. It could have been as early as 3 a.m., correct?
Correct.
So from the beginning, you knew that you weren't going to get much sleep, correct?
Yes.
And if you were going to get any sleep, you couldn't stay at the waterfall all night, correct?
That is correct.
So you left early.
Yes.
And you planned to go home, get whatever rest or sleep you could get, and then wait for the call to go out plowing, correct?
That is correct.
The plan from the beginning was not for you to leave the waterfall, go to Easton, and then drive back from Easton to Canton to pick up Caitlin, and then take her back to Easton so that you could wait for the call for plowing. That was not the original plan, correct?
No, it wasn't.
No, of course it wasn't. So I apologize, Ron.
Of course.
I withdraw that comment.
Of course it wasn't. Okay, we're almost there.
My question is,
No.
was snow starting to accumulate at that time?
I don't remember.
Just briefly on.
Mr. He already sat down. Are you
photograph that
sure?
you were shown, do you know?
Yes.
And as you drove past that entire front lawn, you never saw any of the things I previously asked you about, the baseball hat, the sneakers, the pieces of red plastic, or a 6'2" man, correct?
I did not.
You saw nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And you saw no tire tracks in the snow?
Are you sure? No, I think I did get there. Was it by Mr. Yaneni or is it by Mr. Lally?
Correct?
I did not.
You saw nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And you saw no tire tracks in the snow leading to the Alberts front lawn, did you?
I did not.
You didn't see anything that would lead you to conclude that there had been a car crash there, correct?
Absolutely not.
Sustained.
Yeah, this is where I ended.
Okay, anything, Mr. Lally?
Just briefly.
All right, Mr. Lally, maybe he said something?
That photograph that you were shown, do you know what that was, what that gathering was in regards to?
No, I don't.
During the course of any of the texts or phone calls that must have left?
Can you repeat that?
From your discussions with Caitlin, what was the reason that you went back to 34 Fairview to pick her up and bring her home?
Okay.
We'll allow it. What?
Oh, okay, right here?
Why'd you do that?
Well, she's high maintenance. I didn't really want to have to deal with it.
She wanted to come home, is that correct?
Yes.
And did she say,
Okay.
They left sometime between 11 p.m. and 12
Correct.
And you can't be sure precisely when they left because, again, you weren't watching the clock to make note of when people made their exits, correct?
I know they left before it was Brian Jr.'s birthday on the 29th, so I know it was before midnight, but other than that, no.
Right.
Wait. Oh, shit. Sorry, my bad.
Julie Nagel, I was sitting then, I don't know, was that perpendicular? I haven't taken math in a long time. I was sitting here, if the window's here, I was sitting on this side, facing kind of, I could see the front door. And then to my right, Brian Sr. and Mr. Higgins were standing. So they're back towards the kitchen. And Mrs. Albert Nicole was sitting with her back to the front door area. And Jen and Matt and Caitlin, I don't believe were sitting.
you know, with that course of hour and a half or so after those
It
folks
was funny. I felt like he wanted to say it in cross, but he didn't want to give it to the cross defense attorney.
came back to the house sometime after midnight, did you observe any other people walking or coming into the house at any point?
No.
So no John
Let me ask
O'Keefe.
you this, as far as on January 28th into the 29th of 2022, did you know anybody by the name of John O'Keefe?
No.
And did you know anybody by the name of Karen Reed?
No.
Never heard of it?
And with respect to either of those people or any other people, no one else came into the house while you were there.
Correct.
Now, at some point in time, your friend Julie, did she go outside the house?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that was in regards to?
Her older brother Ryan was coming to pick us up to take us home, so she went out to talk to him prior to him arriving.
Can't wait to hear from
She
Ryan.
said something to me along the lines of Ryan's coming to get us, which Jen McCabe said.
Sustained.
Coming from 34 Fairview, when was this that you had this conversation with Julie about her brother coming to pick us up?
Does Lolly not want his voice to get picked up or something? He's like barely speaking into the microphone.
Around 12:30, give or take.
And at some point, did Julie go outside the house?
Yes.
And did you have any occasion to look outside at any point when she was out there?
No.
And about how long period of time was Julie outside the house?
No longer than 5 minutes.
And after that, her going outside no longer than 5 minutes and coming back inside, were there other arrangements that were made as far as how you and Julie were going to get home that night?
Yes.
And what were those arrangements as far as what was your understanding of how you were getting home that night?
Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe would drive us home.
Now, Jen McCabe, around that time that Julie went outside of the house and came back in, what, if anything, did you observe her to be doing?
Her phone was plugged in behind me, charging. She was checking it periodically.
And again, if you could remind
Oh, this is a bit interesting.
the jury sort of what was it that was behind you as far as where was it?
So where I was sitting behind me was a wall, and then behind that wall would be the family room.
And so I guess what I'm asking is, was there something specific that her phone was like resting on, or was it just sort of hanging out of the plug, or how was it positioned?
I think it was just resting on the floor.
And with reference to her phone, was that something that Ms. McCabe came over and looked at any point in time while it was charging?
Yes.
How many times?
I'm not sure, to be exact.
Let me ask you this: was it once, or more than once, or something?
More than once, I would say.
And without any reference to anything that was said, was there some conversation that you had with Ms. McCabe during the time that she would come over and check or look at the phone?
Myself, no. In general, I remember her saying someone was coming.
And that someone that she indicated was coming, again, no one ever actually came in the house or was around the house that you were aware of, correct?
Correct.
Jen McCabe is the closest to John O'Keefe and Karen Reed. So I wonder, did Jen McCabe text Karen Reed or John, like, hey, what's happened? Are you guys coming or what? Or did she try calling them? Because it seems like she was checking her phone to see if, maybe they were going to be outside or something, or give her an update.
And so about what time was it that you left the home on Fairview on that particular evening?
Between 1:30 and 2 a.m.
And you left with your friend, Ms. Nagel, as well as Mr. and Mrs. McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall what kind of vehicle they had or what they were driving on that evening?
Some sort of like large Subaru type. I don't know the exact make or brand. Bourbon. I don't know.
Correct.
Yes.
And within the SUV that you eventually got into and took a ride home, correct?
Yes.
And if you recall, from within the SUV that you got into, was there, as far as the back seat was concerned, was it 2 rows, 3 rows, or something?
It was 3 rows.
And when you came out to go from the house to the car, what, if anything, did you observe as far as what was the weather doing at that point?
It was snowing.
And as far as the snow that had come, was there any sort of accumulation on the ground that you saw?
Yes.
And so based on that, what, if anything, do you recall about sort of your walk from the front door to the McCabe's vehicle in the driveway?
So we exited the front door and went down the front walkway to the driveway. As I said, it was snowing. Julie and I were like arms linked, and I was looking down at my feet to make sure I didn't slip.
And why were you looking down at your feet?
I wore shoes that my mother told me not to wear because they didn't have traction, but they went with my outfit, so I wore them anyways. And I knew if I had slipped and fell, she would say, I told you so. So I made sure not to do that.
I told you so. Don't you hate hearing that? No, so this is Brian Albert Jr.'s friend. So in the house, after we cleared out of the people that don't really matter, she was left in the house. Another friend of Brian Albert Jr. were left in the house. And then the rest of the Albert family, the McCabe family.
And when you get to the vehicle, do you recall sort of who was driving and who sort of sat where within the vehicle?
Yes. So Matt was driving. Jennifer was in the passenger seat. Julie was behind Matt on the driver's side. And then I was behind Jen.
And when you get into the back of the vehicle, do you recall, was there any sort of conversation about, did either Mr. or Mrs. McCabe know where the two of you lived at that point? No.
They did not.
So I imagine there was some discussion as far as where to, or what was the address or something like that.
Yeah, I'll take it
Yes.
off.
Correct.
Do you recall if that was something that was like plugged into a GPS, or were you just sort of giving verbal instructions about where to go?
I don't
I
remember.
think her name is Sarah.
And do you recall as far as the order of who got dropped off first versus yourself and Ms. Nagel,
Yes.
and who got dropped off?
Julie.
And about how far a drive is it from the address on Fairview to Julie's house?
Less than 5 minutes.
And same as far as, so from Julie's house, you then went to your house, is that correct?
Yeah, about 5 minutes, I would say, from Julie's to mine.
Okay, they all
5
live
minutes or
close
so
to each
from Fairview
other.
to Julie's and 5 minutes or so from Julie's.
Correct.
Now, when you get in the back of the vehicle, do you recall any other sort of discussion while you were in the driveway before you left?
So, yes, we got in to the car. Matt forgot his jacket inside, so he went back to get his jacket. And Julie and I were in the back seat looking around. One of us noticed, I remember, a loaf of bread, just a lone loaf of bread in the back seat. And we said something to Jen because we thought it was weird. And she said something along the lines of, oh, anyone want a peanut butter and jelly on the way, like making a joke. So we were looking back at the third row.
And so Ms. McCabe is in the front seat of the vehicle at this point.
Yes,
So she sort of turns to talk to you while you're in the back seat.
correct.
And was she turned towards sort of the center of the car or the window or something else?
To the center.
And if you recall, Mr. McCabe gets his jacket, comes back in the car, and at some point backs out of the driveway.
Correct.
And when Mr. McCabe drives from there, headed towards Ms. Nagel's,
Hi, good morning. How are you? What's
do you recall which direction that the vehicle was facing as far as going by the house on Fairview?
So,
Let me ask you probably in a better way.
okay.
So at some point, did you drive past the 34 Fairview Road residence on the way to Julie's house?
Yes.
And when you did so, which side of the
They have 4 kids, I believe. The oldest is Caitlin Albert, who testified this morning. There's Brian Albert Jr., who testified, was it last? When did he testify? Oh, he testified yesterday, right? It was his 23rd birthday. That's why they were all celebrating that day. And then they have like twins. I think the twins maybe were underage at the time.
of the McCabe's vehicle was facing the Fairview Road residence? Was it the side that you're on or the side that Julie's on?
The side I was on.
And at the time that you were driving past that, was there a conversation still that was going on in the backseat of the car or with anybody else?
Yes,
And who was sort of engaged in conversation at that point?
myself and Julie.
Why does any of this matter?
And so you're looking at her direction while you're talking to her, is that correct?
Correct.
Oh, okay. They're trying to say that like, oh, you weren't really looking outside the window where John O'Keefe's body would have been found. Okay.
And as you're driving past the house, what, if anything, does Julie say?
Objection.
Ask it differently, Mr. Riley.
Conversation we have with that.
Objection.
All right, so I'm going to see Councilor Tybar on this.
Ms. Levinson, without respect to what Ms. Nagel said to you in the car, the two of you were conversing, correct?
Correct.
And as you're pulling past the house, she says something to you, correct? Or says something out loud?
Not farther up the street.
And so when you're talking about farther up the street, where was the vehicle in relation to the house at 34 Fairview when she says something?
The house was behind us.
And so based on what she had said, where does your attention go?
When she was speaking to me, I looked at her. Once she said what she said, I looked the other way to the window.
And at the time that you looked to the window, what was sort of outside the window in reference to?
Wait, why does it matter what she said? Can't they just tell us if it's not offered as the truth? It's just giving us context?
34 Fairview. Was any part of the residence still before the lawn or anything else visible to you at that time?
No.
And so was a neighboring house, is that fair to say?
One of the neighboring houses, yes.
So whether it was next door neighbor or a couple houses down, it was past that point, correct?
Correct.
And was there any further discussion that you recall in the backseat of the vehicle between yourself and Julie in relation to that earlier statement?
I asked for clarification.
Did you receive any further clarification?
No.
I'm confused. If I was a jury, I'd be like, what?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, to the court, please.
All right, they do a little breaky thing. This is cross-examination.
You know, that course of hour and a half or so after
Oh, just kidding.
folks came back to the house sometime after midnight, did you observe any other people walking or coming
Just
in?
kidding, not cross-examination. We're still doing direct examination. So we're trying to figure out what time did everyone get home? What time did Jen McCabe get home? What time did she get back to her bed?
The house at any point?
No.
Let me ask you this. As far as on January 28th into the 29th of 2022, did you know anybody by the name of John O'Keefe?
No.
And did you know anybody by the name of Karen Reed?
No.
Oh, oops.
And with respect to either of those people or any other people, no one else came home.
That's correct.
And you were at the Albert home on the night of January 28th, going into the 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Got there around 8 p.m.,
Correct.
and you didn't leave until around 2 a.m., give or take, on the 29th, correct?
Correct.
So, again, ballpark figures, if you were there from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m., that means that you spent about 6 hours at the Albert home that night into the early morning?
Correct.
And you yourself never left the home during those 6 hours, correct?
Correct.
You
Hey,
were
David.
inside the home the entire time.
Correct.
Were you interviewed by any police officer, state trooper, or other investigator about the events of that night on January 29th of 2022?
On that
boy.
day?
Yeah, were you interviewed?
No.
What about the rest of January or even February of 2022? Were you interviewed by any investigator?
No.
Oh,
The fact of
boy.
the matter is that no investigator connected with this case took a statement from you in terms of an interview until about 9 months later, correct?
Correct.
And that was done at the district attorney's office on October 21st of 2022?
Correct.
Now, that night while you were at the house, you'll agree with me that there
And we have to rely that their memory was good 9 months later during that interview. Hello, Joneson. How are you doing today? Hello, hello. Driving and listening. We'll drive safe.
were people coming and going from the house the whole night, correct?
I mean, you would have to be more specific.
Okay, so I'm not talking about like every minute on the minute, but during those 6 hours, you saw people come and you saw people leave, correct?
Yes.
But you were not standing guard at the door to take note of everyone who was entering or leaving or the times that they were entering or leaving, correct?
Correct.
You were not keeping a log, for instance, of when somebody came in or when somebody left.
No.
And when you got there around 8 a.m., you came with your good friend Julie Nagel, correct?
Yes.
Julie's father dropped you off there.
Yes.
You saw Nicole Albert, Julie Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Brian Albert Jr. when you arrived, right?
Correct.
Then Julie Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Nicole Albert left, right?
Yes.
But then 4 other friends of Brian Jr. arrived, right?
Yes.
And you would name them when Mr. Lally was asking you questions before the break, right?
Yes, correct.
So with those 4 friends, with you and Julie and Brian Jr., that meant that at that point there were 7 people in the house, right?
Yes.
Actually, there were 8
Man, those 4 friends were probably like, oh, thank goodness we left before it was his birthday. We would get sucked into this whole thing.
people because Colin Albert was there as well, correct?
It depends on what time you're referring to, but yes.
He got dropped off there at some point.
Yes.
And then he was one of the 8 people including yourself, that you were with.
Correct.
You never saw him walk in the door, did you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember seeing him actually enter the house, correct?
Correct.
But during the night, you actually sat right next to Colin Albert at the table, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And with regard to Colin Albert, I believe you testified, you really wouldn't say he's a friend of yours, right?
That's correct.
He was more of an acquaintance, was he not?
That's correct.
Somebody that you met, but you didn't hang around with, right?
Yes.
You have never been in a hot tub with Colin Albert, correct?
Not that I know of, no.
You never took a trip to Maine with Colin Albert, right?
Objection.
No.
Sustained.
Because going away on a road trip, that'd be something that you do with a friend, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. And with regard to those 4 friends of Brian Jr. who arrived,
The peanut butter sandwich thing, I don't know, would that stand out to me? If I looked at the back seat and saw a bread loaf and then they talked about the peanut butter thing, maybe. But I feel like 9 months later, I wouldn't really be remembering some fine details. Like things that are weird that would stand out to me, maybe. But fine details of like what time, when people were leaving, unless there was like any like signifiers. Like for example, when they talked about how the family members arrived like maybe like shortly after midnight, right? Well, at first I was like a little bit skeptical. I was like, how did you know? It was like 12:05, 12:10. But it would have made sense if they were focusing on the midnight countdown to Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday and they remember the family came shortly afterwards. That part would make sense. But I don't know, small details with like times and all that stuff. I'm like, would you really remember that much later? Unless, even though they weren't formally interviewed, they talked about it heavily after John O'Keefe's body was found. But like I said, there was no formal fucking interview.
your best estimate is that they came sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m., right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. I'm talking about Courtney Albert, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, and Mary Kent. Strike that. You know what? Let me withdraw that question and rephrase it. That's like an hour span of time that they could have left within, correct?
Correct.
You never saw Colin Albert physically walk out the door, did you?
I don't remember.
And then
I don't think anyone saw Colin Albert physically leave, right? Maybe it was Nicole Albert. Nicole Albert may have saw him leave, but I don't think anyone else didn't see. Like Brian Albert said that he went upstairs, came back down. I think Colin was gone. Brian Albert Jr., I don't think he saw Colin actually leaving. She didn't see Colin actually leaving, but they all said that he did leave.
at some point before midnight, Brian Albert Sr., Brian Higgins,
Just like
Nicole
didn't see him like physically leave, like walking out the door, I guess.
Albert, Jennifer McCabe, and Caitlin Albert all arrived at the Albert home, correct?
Yes, I don't know if you said Matt McCabe, but yes.
And Matt McCabe as well.
Yes.
And you agree with me that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert arrived at about the same time?
Yes.
And that Caitlin, Albert, Jennifer, Matt McCabe, and Nicole Albert all came back around the same time?
Correct.
Now, from that point until the time that you left, around, and that was around 2 a.m., right? Give or take?
Correct.
From that point until around 2 a.m., the only person who left the house was your friend Julie Nick, right?
Correct.
Your understanding was that she went outside to talk to her brother Ryan Nick, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And in addition to not remembering seeing Colin Albert leave, you also did not see Brian Higgins physically leave, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also don't remember seeing Caitlin Albert leave, correct?
No, I don't remember.
You would agree with me that throughout the night while you were at the house, Caitlin Albert was playing music on her phone?
Yes.
There were surround sound speakers set up in the kitchen dining room area?
I don't remember that.
There were speakers, though, correct?
Possibly. I don't remember.
Your memory is not that Caitlin Albert had a song or songs playing on her small iPhone, was it?
No, it was on a speaker. I'm just not sure if it was surround sound or a Bluetooth speaker like it was previously in the night.
All right, fair enough. People were singing and dancing, right?
Correct.
Pretty much everybody was singing, correct?
Correct.
People were talking.
Correct.
Everybody appeared to be in a good mood and having a good time.
Yes.
And with the music, the singing, the dancing, the talking, the drinking, there was a lot of activity going on in the kitchen dining room area, correct?
Yes.
There was plenty of, to pay attention to with regard to the people that were in that area, right?
Yes.
Brian Jr. was in the kitchen essentially the whole night.
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe was charging her phone on the kitchen island at one point.
Behind it, but yes.
Did she pick up her phone in your presence to make any calls or text anybody?
She picked up her phone. I'm not sure what she did with it.
But in any case, you'd agree with me it was noisy in the kitchen.
Yes.
And the kitchen's in the back of the house.
Yes.
Now, you had seen the Albert family dog, the German Shepherd, Chloe, prior to that day, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Chloe.
And Chloe was not a very outgoing dog around people, correct?
Correct.
In fact, your impression was that she was a former police dog, correct?
Possibly.
Right or wrong?
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's what we were wondering. Really, wait, was Chloe a police dog or no? But since the defense didn't really bring it up before, probably not. People probably just thought maybe she was.
while you were in the kitchen with all of the singing and dancing and talking and music going on, you did not hear Chloe bark, correct?
Correct.
You did not hear Chloe growl, correct?
Correct. Not that I remember.
You did not hear somebody get hit in the back of the head with anything, correct?
Objection.
Go ahead, you can answer that.
Correct.
Oh, but you know what? Like, I know he's trying to say, like, oh, maybe the music was so loud you couldn't hear anything happening in the house, including the dog barking or if John O'Keefe was getting beat up. But it could also go to her not hearing Chloe bark because Chloe doesn't really bark. She doesn't really bark at people. She doesn't really bark at things. Therefore, maybe she wouldn't have barked the next morning when all the commotion was going on.
And while you were there sitting, you could not hear what, if anything, was going on in the basement, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay.
Do you guys remember, they said Chloe was adopted. Do you guys remember how old she was adopted? How old she was when she was adopted?
You were catching a ride home with the McCabe's ultimately, correct?
Correct.
At that time, you believed that you, Julie Nagel, Jennifer McCabe, and Matt McCabe were the last to leave 34 Fairview?
Correct.
So at that time, you believed that Brian Higgins and Caitlin Albert had left before you, correct?
I believe so.
But you didn't see Brian Higgins or Caitlin Albert physically walk out the door. At least you have no memory of that, correct?
Correct.
And when you left, you didn't check every room in the house to see who was still there, correct?
Correct.
You never went down to the basement that night.
That's correct.
And when you left 34 Fairview, the snow was starting to stick to the ground at around 2 a.m.,
That's correct.
but there weren't mounds of snow or snowbanks that had formed, correct?
Correct.
And when you left the home, you could still see part of the red brick of the walkway that leads to the driveway, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
And when you
barely
got
any
to the
snow on the
driveway,
ground.
you could still see part of the color of the pavement, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you could still see some grass on the front lawn at 2 a.m., right?
I don't remember, but
Let me have a moment.
Yes.
May 11th of 2023, so just about a year ago, in Boston, correct?
correct.
And neither the prosecution in this case, Mr. Lally and Ms. McLaughlin, or any of the defense team was there, correct?
Correct.
Some other lawyer was asking you questions, right?
Objection.
Sustained, move along with this.
Sure. You were asked the question, quote, could you see the grass sort of on the lawn? That was when you were leaving. And your answer was yes. Do you recall that question and answer?
I don't recall that.
If I suggested to you that that was the question and answer, would you dispute it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is your memory exhausted as to whether there was that question of you and that answer given?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Do you not remember?
I actually wonder if it's like a Boston thing or if it's like a family thing, because I think so far all the members of the Albert family don't really sound like they're emotionally attached to Chloe. We've heard Chloe being called it by mom, dad. I think their kids refer to Chloe as the dog. I don't know. I don't know if like they're just the type of family that's not really emotionally attached to the dog. Which could explain why the dog is not good with people. Because I don't know, I always find it when a dog is not good with people, it means they went through some sort of like abuse with another human, or, you know, they just weren't really getting much love from their current family members. I don't know. That's what I was wondering. How old was Chloe when she got adopted?
Remember whether you were asked
Hi,
that question
Angela.
that I just read and the answer that you just gave?
I don't remember.
Okay. If you saw that transcript, would that refresh your memory?
Hi,
Possibly.
Bleep.
Page 187, Counsel. May I, Coach?
Was
How's it going?
No. Yes, you may.
Thank you. Actually,
Hi
I'm sorry.
from
I just
Iowa.
handed it to you and then took it away. I'm sorry about that.
How's the weather
lines
in
10 and
Iowa?
11, I withdrew.
Yes,
question.
I'm just clarifying, yeah.
But I did read it accurately. right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so when she came out, I mean, this was 9 months later, but when she said she came out, she saw some red brick in the ground. You could see some grass, so barely any snow at that point on the ground. Oh, some wings.
Okay. Where was the McCabe's car parked?
In the driveway.
What other cars did you see in the driveway at that time?
I believe the Albert, by Albert family, I mean the ones that owned that house.
The parents.
Yes, correct. Their cars.
Do you know how many?
2.
And where were those 2 cars parked? Were there, strike that. Were there 2 lanes in the driveway where cars were parked?
Duh.
Yes,
And which lane, to the left or the right, were the Albert cars? Or maybe they were in both.
I believe both, closest to the garage.
Okay, so they were pulled up closest to the entrance of the garage.
Correct.
In tandem, right next to each other.
Correct.
All right. And where was the McCabe's car behind? Which car?
Oh, sure. German Shepherd mix. There's a German Shepherd looking corgi mix. I don't know. It looks like a German Shepherd, but it has like corgi stumpy legs. I feel so bad. I don't know who the fuck crossbred that dog, but the dog is adorable. Oh my goodness. She's a scary girl when she wants to be, but she's a cuddly baby otherwise. Oh. Wait, really? Weather is good. We've been seeing the northern lights lately. Wait, I thought it was only a one-time thing. You guys are still seeing it? Oh, that's so cool. Have you taken any cool pictures on your phone yet?
If you're looking at the house, the lane to the left, I believe.
Okay. Now, when you first walked out of the Albert home, you'd agree with me that the front lawn was right in front of you, correct?
Yes.
There were no obstructions blocking your view of that front lawn.
No.
And there were lights on next to the Albert home front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And there was also a lamppost where the front walkway is, correct?
Correct.
And between the two garage doors, there's also a spotlight, is there not?
Correct.
And you would testify that snow had started to accumulate, right?
Correct.
And against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
No.
Did you see a black sneaker?
No.
Did you see a 6'2", 220-pound man sprawled out right in front of you on that lawn?
No.
Did you see 45 pieces of red plastic?
No.
One piece of red plastic?
No.
So you saw nothing unusual on that front lawn as you walked out of that house, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, let's pretend we're at 34 Fairview right now. Okay, this is 34 Fairview. I'm surprised they haven't blocked out their house yet. So there is a street lamp right there. This is the one that he's talking about. The one that's at the end of the driveway, but it's on the other side. Why the fuck is there only one street lamp here? There's no street lamps here. No street lamps here. No street lamps anywhere here. Why is there just one random ass street lamp right over fucking here? So this is where John's body was found. Like roughly, let me go down here more. Shit, man, I'm not even quite sure. Somewhere, there's a fire hydrant right there. Maybe like, I don't know, somewhere around here. We're 11 days in and I'm not really quite sure. But why is there only one street lamp here? Who designed this? There's only one dingy street lamp right here. Oh boy. Okay, I'm sure the jury saw this when they went to go view the house. Yeah, I'm surprised like they didn't just blur out the house. If I lived in 34 Fairview, I am blurring the shit out of my house, all right? Flagpole's still there. Oh, is this the berm? Oh, this is the berm. Yeah, I mean, it's possible for them to not see John, especially there's no street lamp here. It's kind of far. I don't know, like right around, I think it's like it's somewhere around here.
As Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Julie Nagel were walking toward the McCabe car, none of them pointed to the front lawn to direct your attention to anything, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, you would testify that Matt McCabe forgot something and had to go back in the house, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to go to the part where we're trying to figure out when did Jen McCabe get home? Oh, that's it? Oh, shit. I think that's about it. So she says she left around 1:30 to 2. It takes about her and her friend Julie's house are about like 5 minutes away from each other, and then they live pretty close to the McCabe's as well.
Yes.
Okay. And we had previously talked about the fact that you were first interviewed by investigators on October 21st of 2022, right?
Correct.
And the investigator that spoke to you about 9 months after January 29th of 2022, you will agree with me, was Michael Proctor, correct?
That's correct.
And almost a year after that, you were visited by 2 female members of the defense team, were you not?
Objection.
My home was.
Okay. Do you recognize
Oh, I like flats, but so does my wife, so I get drumsticks. I like flats. Dennis likes drumsticks. It works out.
Ms. Little seated at council table as being one of those 2 females?
Okay, I'm going to see it, Cypher.
Correct.
And you hadn't before you and I just started to speak to anybody from the defense team?
That is correct.
And you hadn't before you and I just started this discussion, correct?
That is correct.
Oh my God, I just fucking got it. Every time the defense goes up to a witness, defense is like, so we've never met before, have we? Right. Never questioned you before, never said anything to you before. Right. That's because the defense never had a chance to talk to any of these fucking witnesses. Because some of these witnesses were either last minute or... I mean, okay, the boyfriend was a week ago. That was the first time he ever got interviewed. It was a phone interview. But some of these people weren't interviewed until months later. So how come they didn't have access to these witnesses? What the fuck? Oh God! Now I get it. Now I get why they've been saying this.
Is it fair to say, Ms. Levinson, that you decided not to speak to anybody from the defense team?
That is correct.
And
Oh, you can choose to not to speak to the defense team? Really?
you hadn't before you and I just started this discussion, correct?
That is correct.
You can do that?
Nothing further, thank you, Your Honor.
There's no like deposition. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Where are we? Lots of shittery happening in Canton. I don't know. I was like, what about a deposition when you're there and then you get questioned by both sides? I don't fucking know.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Oh God. All right. Let's go to the next witness. Okay, Julie Nagel. I wanted to hear from Julie Nagel, but honestly, I want to hear from her brother more. I don't really care about Julie Nagel as much.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
How you doing?
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Yep, it's Juliana Nagel, Nagel,
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton, Mass?
My whole life.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton?
I live with my parents and my brothers, but mostly now just my parents.
And how many brothers do you have?
I have 2 older brothers.
And what are the names and how much older than you are they?
My oldest brother Ryan is 31, and then my other brother Sam is.
Let's see. It says in some states, depositions are permitted only in felony cases. So I guess maybe it depends on the state. Shit, where did it go? Oh, it was highlighted somewhere. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Several states currently allow discovery depositions in criminal cases, including Iowa, Missouri, New Hampshire. In some of these states, depositions are only permitted only in felony cases. Others either allow depositions in any criminal cases or in both felony and more serious misdemeanor cases. Oh, so I guess in Massachusetts, it's not a thing. Well, that fucking sucks. Okay, got our answer. So if you're in Iowa, Missouri, New Hampshire, Florida, North Dakota, Vermont, Texas, and Arizona, and sometimes it's limited.
27.
And
Shit, I mean, if I was a witness, I guess I wouldn't want to be like, no, I'm not talking to you, defense attorney.
I do. I work for a car rental agency.
how long have you been doing that?
A little over a year and a half.
Ma'am, if I could put your attention to January 28th, 2022 into the early morning of 29th. Do you recall where you were that evening?
I do.
And where did you go?
To my friend Brian Albert's house.
All right, so I want to get to the part where her brother gets there.
And your friend, that's a Brian.
High school. He was a year below me.
Sorry, I want to get to Sarah Levinson. Oh, sorry, that was her name. Sarah Levinson was the previous witness. Sarah Levinson. This is Julie Nagel.
34 Fairview Road.
Correct, yes.
And had you been there on occasion over the course of your friendship?
Yes.
Now, what was, as far as your understanding, what was sort of the plan for that evening?
Just hang out, have some drinks for my friend Brian's birthday. Just together and hang out.
And when you arrived there, who, if anyone, in addition to yourself, Ms. Levinson and Brian Albert Jr. were present at home at that time?
Sorry, I'm just gonna skip through all this. I feel like we don't need all this. That's what I remember. All right, more people arrived.
About the relationship between Colin Albert and Brian Albert Jr.
They're cousins.
And about how old was Colin Albert around this time frame of January 28, 2020?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know.
I just want to know when she said. I just want to know when Colin Albert leaves.
You know whether or not he was in high school or college or something else?
High school.
And when was it that he arrived in relation to the 4 young ladies that you were talking about? Of the evening I was speaking, what you were
Was it? Yeah, in the ceiling.
and was that being played through somebody else's like phone or device or something like that?
Yes.
And do you recall who was sort of in control or who was controlling the music?
I believe it was Caitlin Albert.
And so prior to, at this point in time that you're talking about, sort of the initial with, was Caitlin there at that point?
Yes, she was.
I'm sorry, during the point in time when it was yourself and Ms. Levinson, the other 4 young women that you were talking about, Colin Albert, was Caitlin Albert there at that point, if you recall?
Not at that point, no.
So that's what my question was
Okay.
in relation to that time, who, if anyone, was
I,
in charge of
okay. No, not at that time. I don't remember.
Now, with respect to
With respect to what, if any, sort of did the Alberts arrive?
obviously you were there and you were drinking, people were drinking, correct?
Yep.
Do you recall sort of what people were drinking?
I know at the time I was drinking Michelob Ultras, but mostly just White Claws, beers from when I can.
Okay, all horrible drinks. Yuck.
The front door of Fairview Road, there's 2 doors in the front area of the house.
Yes.
And as far as with respect to either of those 2 doors, you don't remember him leaving from some other
Are we doing spoilers in the chat for today's trial? You can. Go ahead. I don't mind.
door of the house, correct?
Correct.
So if he left, or when he left, it would have been from one of those two front doors?
Yes.
Just because we're jumping around a
Now,
lot.
at some point, at least after Ms. Candace Daviano, Ms. Duty, and Ms. Alba left, did people that lived at the house
Okay, I want to just get to the part where everyone arrives.
at any point in time, well, let me ask you this, they come sometime shortly around or after midnight, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And about how long after they arrived, or about what time was it that you left the house for the evening?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
At some point, you went home that night?
Yes.
What time was it?
I would say, give or take, like 1:45.
And so between the time that they came back to the house around 12:15 or so, between that and 1:45, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor in the house at that point?
It was still all the same. Everyone was having fun, hanging out.
Music still playing, people drinking, having a good time?
Yes.
And over the course of this time, as far as the group that you talked about that was in the kitchen and dining room area, did you see any of those people go anywhere else?
I mean, to the bathroom, but I know at one point Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, did go upstairs to let the dog out back, but he just opened the back door and watched them from the door and brought him right back upstairs. So that was the only time he like went upstairs. But
And as far as the kitchen dining room area, from your discussions with David, what was situated around that area during the time that the second group was there?
yeah, we were all sitting in like the kitchen table. It's like a square table, so we're all just hanging out around there. Some at like the island in the kitchen, but mostly all just there together.
Do you recall specifically, I know we're talking over 2 years ago, do you recall specifically where people were within that area around the table?
I don't know.
Do you recall where you were?
I was sitting like in the corner, so I could see like the island, the kitchen table, like the front door, and like the windows, I guess. Yeah.
Where you were seated around the table, could you see the front door?
Yes.
And so beyond the people that you'd already talked about being in that kitchen dining room area in that second group, did anybody else come into the house that night while you were there?
No.
And at the time on January 28, 2022, were you familiar with either a person named John O'Keefe or a person named Karen Reed?
No.
And at any point in time, not knowing them, did you see anybody else come into the house while you were there between that 12 to 12:15 and 1:45?
No one else came in. No.
Now, do you recall who was sort of around you where you were at
Who was sort of around you?
immediately around you?
I would say Jennifer, McCabe, Sarah, Levinson, Caitlin. I can remember like sitting at the table like with me. Yeah.
Now, at some point
brother.
in the evening, let me ask you this: what if any sort of plans did you have as far as how you were getting home?
Yeah. I did text my brother to see if he could pick me up on his way home with his friend, just on their way home to come pick me up, which they did.
Which of your two brothers was that?
My brother Ryan.
So you texted Ryan to see if he could come pick you up?
Yep.
And did you have to give him an address or anything like that, or how did you explain to him where you were?
I just said I was at Brian Jr.'s house. If he could pick me up.
Was that
It's
somewhere
hot.
that your brother had picked you up from on prior occasions?
Yes.
And about what time, if you know, did you send that text to your brother about getting picked up?
I'd probably say a little after, probably like 15 minutes after midnight. Yeah.
And as far as the other people in that section,
Okay, let's go to where you go outside and
you in any way?
talk to your brother.
He just texted. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Did he reach out to you at any point to let you know that he was?
Yes, he did text me saying that he was outside.
And upon receiving that text, where did you go?
I went out through the front door.
Now, before you went out through the front door, what, if any, conversation, well, let me strike that as far as conversation, but who, if anyone, did you speak to about the fact that your brother was outside the house?
Yeah, I just mentioned saying my brother's outside. I do remember someone or a few,
I want to hear the answer first.
just a few people saying, "Oh, just have your brother come in." So I went outside, and it was
Hey!
my brother in the passenger seat, his friend Ricky,
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks, Mattia. Hello, hello.
and then his ex-girlfriend Heather. I asked them if they wanted to come in. They said no.
I'm going to let that stand. The next question.
So you go outside to,
Thank
you go outside to
you.
where your brother is, right?
Yes,
Wait, why does it say Spanish? Thanks, Mattia. I appreciate that.
And do you recall which of the two front doors you used to go outside?
I used the front door.
Front door is the one with the brick steps, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
You come down the brick steps, go down the walkway. Do you recall how you came down to where your brother was?
I walked down the steps through the little path, and then down the driveway, and they were parked right in front of the driveway.
So they were parked right at the end of the driveway?
Remember the funny thing? I actually forgot correct details when I testified in a murder trial. It's weird. I completely misremembered the whole taser. Made me question my whole reality. You ever get in an argument with someone and then you try to go back into the text message to back you up, or like maybe like surveillance footage or anything like that, and you realize it just didn't happen the way that you thought it happened? Yeah, happens a lot.
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle was this that you came up?
It was Ricky's pickup truck, of Ford F-150.
No, not Spanish.
And you mentioned that there were 3 people in the truck, is that correct?
Yes.
Where were they seated within the truck when you got?
Ricky was driving his truck. Ryan was in the passenger seat, and then Heather was in the back seat.
You mentioned
Oh, Ryan was in the passenger seat. I thought Ryan was driving.
that Heather is Ryan's ex-girlfriend, is that correct?
Correct.
Were they
Oh
dating?
gosh, are we gonna get the testimony of the other 2 people in the car? I don't know if we need their testimonies, do we? I guess we could. They could say whether or not they saw John O'Keefe and Karen in the car, but I hope we just like get right to it.
this time?
At that time, yes.
Now, with regard to Ricky is someone who's a close friend of your brother, is that correct?
Yes.
You know him pretty well?
Yep.
As you get to the truck, do you recall how it was that you were speaking to your brother Ryan? Was it sort of through an open window? Did you open the door? Or how were you communicating?
He rolled down his window.
And when you came out to the truck at the end of the driveway, what, if any, other vehicles did you see in the area of the house on Fifth?
Well, before when I went outside, I did notice another vehicle before my brother pulled up.
So you had gone outside before your brother had, or Ricky had fully sort of parked the truck?
No, he was like fully outside already, and then I went out, and it was just Ricky's truck.
Okay. And so at some point later, there was another vehicle that came up?
Prior.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
And can you describe that vehicle for the jury? Sort of what did it look like? What kind of vehicle was it?
Yeah, it was a black SUV.
And had you ever seen that vehicle before?
No.
And you go up to the truck and you're talking to your brother, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to, about how long period of time were you talking with your brother next to the truck?
I would say maybe 3 minutes max, not even.
And did you invite your brother and his friends inside the house?
Yes.
And how did they respond?
They said, no, we just want to go home. And then I was like, I'll find out another ride home.
And so that brings me to my next question as far as arrangements for you coming home. Was there any, prior to you coming out of the house, was there any talk or discussion about how you would get home if you didn't go home?
Yeah, Matt McCabe and Jennifer did offer to drive me home if I didn't want to go home with my brother. So I just stayed and then took their offer.
So you decided you wanted to stay and took them up on their offer.
Correct. Yes.
And in addition to yourself, who if anyone else, went home from the residence on Fairview with you?
It was me and Sarah Levinson.
Now, if I could bring you back to that period of time when you're outside, the vehicle that you were talking about, where is that in relation to the pickup truck that Ricky saw?
Well, it was like the SUV wasn't there when my brother was there. It was like before. Like when I was inside, I noticed it. Yeah.
And so at the time that you were talking to your brother with the pickup truck, was the SUV still there?
Wait, what? Oh, because I think she went back and forth twice, right? Sorry.
Like when I was inside, I noticed it. Yeah.
And so at the time that you were talking to your brother with the pickup truck, was the SUV still there?
I don't believe so, no.
And so where was that SUV parked in relation to where the truck was?
So when I noticed, looking out the window, I did notice the SUV in front of the mailbox, and then pulled up a little bit in front of the yard, and then stopped, and then pulled up again towards the flagpole.
So you saw it in sort of 3 different locations at the time that you were seeing it?
Correct, yes.
And again, where were you in relation to the vehicle at the time that you made these observations?
I was inside at the dining room table, looking out the window.
And at any point in time, did you see anybody come out of that?
I did not know.
And at any point in time, did you see any sort of, well, when you came out initially to, or when you were looking out and when you came out, do you recall anything about the weather and sort of what it was doing at that point?
It was, I would say like flakes of snow, a little dust on the ground.
Oh, little
And so from the
dust.
dust on the ground,
Flakes of snow. Oh,
from
boy.
either the SUV or the pickup truck that Ricky was driving, did you see any sort of like imprints in the snow from tires or anything like that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if there was that much snow or what it was?
Correct.
Brian Albert Jr. said he looked us at the window and then noticed there were tire tracks that he saw. I'm like, would you really notice that?
And as far as anywhere in and around where you had seen the SUV at either of the 3 spots that you saw it, did you see any sort of like footprints in the snow or in the ground or anything like that? And did you see inside of the vehicle, see anybody inside at any point in time?
No.
Okay, so this is the part where the cross-examination is going to get her for, right?
And you never saw anybody get out of that vehicle at any of the 3 different points where you saw it parked, correct?
I did not know.
When you saw the vehicle parked at those 3 sort of separate different locations, was the vehicle on? Was it running, if you could tell?
I'm not sure, no.
What is that, Lolly?
Okay.
Um,
All set. Brian Albert Jr.'s house.
Is that roughly what the house looked like at the time of January 28th, 29th, 2022?
Correct, yes.
If I could ask you to flip just back to the first one that I showed you, Exhibit 71. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish that to the jury at this time?
Okay.
And so, Ms. Nagel, directing your attention to the screen above you, sorry, to your right. This is what you have before you as Exhibit 71, is that correct?
Yes.
If you could, using the laser pointer that's on the desk in front of you, if you could direct the jury's attention to the door that you were talking about that she came out in order to come down and talk to your brother.
Yes. That
Main
one right
door?
there.
Now, with respect to Richard's truck, when you came out to speak with your brother Ryan, where was the truck parked?
The truck was parked right here.
And with respect to that vehicle, the black SUV, where that vehicle was initially when you saw it, is that visible in this photograph?
Yes.
And if you could direct the jury's attention to where that. If I could draw your attention to the next.
Which makes sense because her brother's car, they said they saw a black SUV, and I think they let the black SUV go ahead of them to make a turn or something like that. And so it makes sense that Karen Reed and John got there first, and then her brother and friends got there afterwards.
Just ask you to flip to Exhibit 72, and Ms. Gilman, if I can have that Again, what's up on the screen is that what you have for you as Exhibit 72.
Yes.
Now, the second position that you indicated you observed that black SUV in with relation to the house, if you could, using the laser pointer, draw the jury's attention where that would be in this photograph.
Objection, sidebar, Your Honor.
I mean, I don't know. This right here looks like a pretty decent amount of snow. So I found there's this video I was watching and I was like, wait. I'll show you guys really quick. Because I'm trying to figure out how much fucking snow is on the fucking ground ultimately. Let me look at my history really quick. Where is it? Oh my god, why am I watching so many weird videos? I'm looking for a 2-minute. Oh, no. 2-minute video. I'm looking for a 2-minute video. Where the fudge is it? 2-minute video. It's a 2-minute video that showed the snow on the ground. And it kind of looked like a lot of snow. Crap, where the hell is it? Am I going crazy? Did I not watch it? Oh, here it is. Okay.
Telling her police arm a
Oh, right here. Listen.
Part of our daughter and our family.
O'Keefe's body was discovered in a snowbank.
I mean, that looks like a, but I don't know if this was, is this the day that it happened, the night? Like, who took this footage, one? And then two, I mean, that looks like a decent amount of snow. Or was this after the fact? When was this taken?
Outside the Canton home of another police officer hosting a gathering last January. Prosecutors say she ran over O'Keefe with her.
Right? I'm like, wait, is this a different snowstorm? And I was like, maybe that's just a generic footage, but that looks like the Canton house right there. Right?
Body was discovered in a
That looks like the house. There's the flagpole. There's no street lamp here.
snowbank out.
There's a dinky street lamp back there. I'm like, is this what this is the night? Oh, this is the night after?
Outside the Canton home of another police
Maybe.
officer hosting
Okay, maybe the night after. I'm like, that's a fuck ton of snow.
a gathering last January. Prosecutors say she ran over O'Keefe.
Okay, I mean, and then okay, so like, then I'm thinking, all right, well, if they had the leaf blower, and then they had the, would they have found the fragments of taillight? But I also don't know how much snow was on the ground when. Well, I mean, we could see from the pictures. I don't fucking know. Oh god, there's just so many questions, so many mysteries. I don't fucking know.
All right.
All right, thank you. That would make sense. It was the night after.
The next exhibit, number 73. Someone would like to have that up. And Ms. Nagel, with regard to the third point, or the third different location that you observed that black SUV on that morning, is that visible in this photograph?
Yes.
And again, using the laser pointer, if you could direct your attention where you observed it at the third point that you observed the black SUV. Thank you. That's all with this, Ms. Gilman. You can.
I'm a criminologist too. I have a leaf blower. I'm gonna start investigating murders with my leaf blower.
Outside, and then at some point after a couple minutes, come back inside. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the people that you would mention that were in the.
Wait, sorry.
So, Ms. Nagel, you speak with your brother outside, and then at some point after a couple minutes, come back inside. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the people that you would mention that were in the kitchen and dining room area, were they still in that area?
Yes.
And at some point over the course of the evening, things eventually start to wind down, and people are leaving the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you recall what order it was that the people left the house on that morning?
I'm not quite too sure. No.
And with respect to yourself, you indicated that you left with Ms. Levinson and the McCabe, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall who, if anyone else, was present in the home when you left?
I'm not sure. No.
And so when you left, how was it that you came out of residence at that point?
Out the front door.
Same front door that you had indicated earlier.
Yes.
So let's move on with which door, please.
Thank you, Judge.
You come out from that door. Where was it that you went?
Went into
Let's move on from a lot of this questioning, okay? Moving along. Let's go.
in Jennifer's car.
Do you recall anything about the car, what type of car it was, or?
It was an SUV, but I don't know what kind it was.
And where was that vehicle parked when you went over to it?
I was in the driveway.
And do you recall sort of how you came from the front door to the driveway?
Just walked on through the path of the
pathway in the front yard and then out the door.
So sort of along the brick path through the driveway to the car.
Yes.
Recall when you got in the car where it was you were seated and where anyone else was seated in the car?
Yeah.
Hello, beautiful messy ball. Yeah, because from what we're hearing, there was a light dusting on the ground, and by the time the party goers were leaving, you could still see the brick on the driveway. You could still see the grass.
It was Matt driving, Jennifer in the front, and then me behind Matt, and then Sarah next to me in the back behind Jen.
Now, after you get in the car, about how long was it before the car backs out of the driveway?
I'm not quite too sure.
And what many conversations do you recall as far as going on during that period of time prior to the car backing out of the building?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Now, when the vehicle leaves from the house, at some point it's going by the house, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall which side of McCabe's vehicle was facing towards the house, and by that I mean was it the side you were sitting on or the side that Ms. Levinson was?
The side that Sarah was sitting on.
And that would have been the passenger side, is that correct?
Yes.
And at the time that the vehicle was driving by the house, what is it that you were doing at that time?
We were having a conversation. So Jen was kind of facing towards the back, towards me and Sarah. We were talking about making PB and jelly sandwiches because there was some peanut butter and jelly and bread in the car. So talking about that. But yeah.
And so when Ms. McCabe she's in the front seat, is that right?
Yes.
And she's talking to you and Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
Hey,
How
golf
is it
girl.
that she's positioned talking to you with relation to the seat that she's in?
Yeah, I would say she was kind of turned back a little bit towards us in the back seat.
And what I'm asking is, she turned towards sort of the center of the vehicle, or she turned towards the window next to her?
Towards the center of the vehicle.
And you're speaking to her and to Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
Which direction do you face?
Facing towards Sarah and Jen.
And which direction is Sarah facing as you're having this conversation?
Towards me.
And as you drive by home, what, if anything, did you observe?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
And from where you were situated in the car, do you know?
Finally. Okay. I was like, there had to have been someone to say that they saw like a black blob or whatever it was. So it's her. That's the conversation that they weren't. Okay. Got it. That's why there were so many objections earlier.
Home, what, if anything, did you observe?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
And from where you were situated in the car, do you know sort of what was the lighting like over in that area of the yard that you saw by the flag?
It was pretty dark out, but the snow was kind of heavy at that point, so couldn't really see too much. But
So the snow coming down at that point?
yes.
And if you know about where in relation to the flagpole was this black object that you saw?
I'd probably say close to the street, but in their lawn, right kind of in front of the flagpole next to it.
Now, I'm sorry to do this again, but Ms. Gilman, Your Honor, with court's permission, I would just ask that exhibit number 72 be back up on the screen.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I should actually ask for exhibit number 73. Now, Ms. Nagel, if I could ask the area where you saw this black object, can you see that area depicted in the photograph?
Yes.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to where, as specific as you can be, where you observed it. Now, as the vehicle is going by the house, as you make that observation, what, if anything, did you say in the backseat of the car?
I did say out loud, I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was. But I was also intoxicated drinking, so didn't really know what it was, what I saw. But Sarah was like, "What, Julie?" And I was like, "I don't know what it was." And then that was kind of really it.
Because remember, it was barely any inches on the ground. There's no street lamp there. The snow was coming down, but probably not as much. She's in the back seat. She said she saw a black blob driving by, right? Now, remember, a couple hours later, when Karen's also in the back seat of her friend's car, SUV, I believe, as well. Karen, at this point, there's been more inches in the ground and more snow coming down. We saw the visibility on the police body cam, the police dashboard cam, right? And Karen said she saw John O'Keefe in the ground. And 6:30 a.m. was still kind of darkish. So if you believe that Karen saw, John O'Keefe in the ground, it's possible that you might believe that she did see a black blob in the ground as well.
Sort of the end of the conversation in reference to that, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
But no one else saw it.
Good. ask you one more question. With regard to the object that you saw in that area, the flagpole, can you describe how big an object it was that you saw?
I'd probably say like 5 or 6 feet, like long, but
And at the time that you were driving by at that point, you could tell what it was.
not quite sure. No, it was just too quick to tell.
But then also remember, John was found face up though, not face down, right? Yeah, John was found face up. They were saying supine position. He was found face up, so you would have saw a black blob, but not his face. Maybe.
Hey, nothing further.
Thank you.
Wouldn't you stop the car and say, "What the fuck is that?" No. If I was drunk, I'd be like, "What the fuck is that?" I don't know. I don't know. If I just saw like a blob and I, process it as a blob, I'd probably just be like, "Oh, what the hell is that?" Yeah. And she said she was drunk though, so that could the jury could also be like, "Oh, well, you were drunk. You weren't really sure what you saw, right?" Could have been the berm.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, cross-examination. So she saw a black blob. Pretty important. Okay.
Good afternoon, Ms. Nick.
Good afternoon.
On January 28th of 2022, you got to 34 Fairview Road at about 6 or 7 p.m.,
Correct.
and you didn't leave until 1:30 or 2 a.m., correct?
1:45 around there. Yeah.
Okay. So you were there approximately 8 hours?
I'm not really sure about the math, but I guess so.
A lot of hours.
Yep.
Other than the people who lived at the home and slept there, you were one of the ones to spend the most time there that night, correct?
I'm not sure.
You got there early. You got there early, correct?
Yes.
And you left late.
I don't know when she was interviewed by the cops. I think Yannetti would probably get there. I low-key hallucinate when I'm crossfaded. Oh, crossfaded, I could believe that.
Correct?
Yeah.
And you were inside almost the entire time, correct?
Yes.
So you came in contact with just about everybody who came into that house, correct?
Yes.
And you know that everyone who was in the house that night is a witness in this case, correct?
Yes.
The only time you went outside before you left was when your brother Ryan arrived, correct?
Yes.
And even when you went outside, you stayed on the Albert property, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And you had some contact with your brother out there, correct?
Yes.
And you know that he's a witness in this case as well, correct?
I do. Yes.
And despite having contact with all of these witnesses in this case, Trooper Proctor didn't talk to you on January 29th, did he?
No.
Or the rest of January or the whole month of February, correct?
Correct.
He didn't interview you about
Until?
these statements that you're making today until October of 2022, correct?
If that's what it says on paper, yeah.
October 5 of 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know.
It was many months after January 20.
What? Oh, I don't know about this. If she had said she saw the black blob the day John O'Keefe's body was found, or maybe a couple days afterwards, but you didn't say nothing for 9 months? Then how can we rely on your memory? Oh, this is not looking good. At first I was like, okay, she might be something. Maybe she's onto something. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't look good. You find out that a police officer's body was found on your friend's lawn. You wouldn't think it'd be important to say, hey, I was, when we were leaving, there was like a fucking black bulb up there.
Correct?
Yes.
Over 8 months.
This isn't even the good part. This is the good part. There's no way. What else is there? What else is there? Okay, well, wait. Well, let me get there. We're almost there. We're only like a couple minutes behind.
After John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
If that was the time frame, yes.
And when he spoke to you on October 5, Trooper Proctor asked you for the first time to remember the details from 8 months before that, correct?
If that was the time frame, yes.
And you are good friends with Sarah Levinson, correct?
Yes.
Certainly over the last 2+ years, the two of you have discussed what happened on January 28th and 29th, correct?
Yeah.
And you know that Michael Proctor only interviewed you after the defense in this case filed a motion to get Sarah Levinson's name from the DA's office.
Objection, Your
correct?
Honor.
The objection sustained. Next question.
And you know.
So I want to
correct?
know what's
Yes.
going on.
Certainly over the last 2+ years, the two of you have discussed what happened on January 28th and 29th, correct?
Yeah.
And you know that Michael Proctor only interviewed you after the defense in this case filed a motion to get Sarah Levinson's name from the DA's office.
Objection, Your
correct?
Honor.
The objection sustained. Next question.
So you've known Brian Jr. since your sophomore or junior year, correct?
Yes.
And you actually graduated Canton High School in 2016, correct?
Correct.
But you've known him since 2014 or 15?
Yes.
9 or 10 years?
Yep.
He's a good friend.
Yes.
He's a close friend of yours, correct?
Yes.
And on January 28th of 2022, you were one of a select group of his friends who went to his house to celebrate his birthday the following night, right?
Yes.
And you don't go to somebody's house whom you graduated high school with 10 years previously to celebrate their birthday if they're just an acquaintance.
Now I'm starting to really get why the defense is kind of confident. Why the defense was confident in their opening statement about the cover-up statements, because there's a lot of really weird fucky shit from some of these witnesses. And of course, we know about the lead detective, but there's a lot of fucky shit. And when it all comes together, you might have little pieces here and there, but when you throw it all together, it could look pretty fucking bad.
Objection.
I don't know.
I'll let the answer stand.
When you got there, other than Sarah Levinson and yourself, everyone at the house was a member of the Albert family, correct?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Sure. You and Sarah Levinson are not actually Alberts, correct?
Correct. Yes.
But everybody else at the house was when you got there.
No.
You named Brian Albert Jr., correct?
Yes.
Julie Albert?
I did not know.
Nicole Albert?
I did. Yes.
Is the conspiracy that the cops killed him and it's a cover-up? I'll talk about the two extremes, I guess. But I mean, it's not extreme because, I'll talk about the two, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Diametrical opposites. How about that? All right. So one is the state, right? State is saying Karen and John had an argument maybe about going to the party, not going to the party. Karen thinks John may be cheating on him. I don't know, maybe some cheating accusations, but whatever it was, they got an argument when they got in the car. They were both maybe like really drunk, and maybe John gets out and Karen like decides to back into him and then she like dips out. Okay. That's like one end, right? The other end is that John went inside the house. Something went down. Now, we don't know. Some of the defense, what they introduced so far through their questioning is maybe Brian Higgins, a close friend of the Alberts, was into Karen. Maybe he was jealous of John and Karen, even though they've been together for like 2 fucking years. But anyways, maybe there was a fight that erupted. Maybe the dog participated in that fight and attacked John or attacked John on their own. Maybe there was some drama going on between Colin and John over Colin's little brother getting yelled at by John before for running across the lawn. I don't know. Maybe something went down with any three of those, right? Or just something just happened and they all just got into a brawl somehow. I don't know. And then they took John's body out and left them on like the very edge of their property line, still in front of like their house, sort of. So those are like the opposites here. But I was thinking maybe there are like lesser extreme versions of those, which would be on the state side. Maybe Karen did it by accident. Maybe she didn't mean to. Maybe she thought he was still alive, because apparently Karen left like angry voice messages afterwards. So maybe she thought he was still alive. She was pissed. Maybe she thought she just like love tapped him with a car or something. I don't fucking know. Maybe she was really drunk. Maybe she doesn't know. And then the less severity of the defense's side would just be like, oh, maybe it was just the Albert family. Something happened. And then everyone else wasn't really a part of the cover up. And then Michael Proctor just happened to be a really shitty fucking investigator. Right. But, I wish I had answers for you guys. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. The investigator was shit. People were interviewed months later. Some were, even one person that was, like a witness sort of, they were interviewed last week. Like, what the fuck? Because in order for me to believe the grand conspiracy, which is these, the severe one, would be like, oh my God, there's so many people involved, so many agencies, that's a hard time for me to believe, because that's a lot of people that you have to make sure don't fucking open their fucking mouths for the past couple years, right? Or they'd be willing to protect each other, but it's like friends of family members of friends, blah, blah, blah. It's like, would they really go to lengths to do all that? That's why I was thinking, okay, if anyone's involved, maybe it's just the Albert family, because I can see family willing to protect family, especially if it's like in your immediate family. I could see that. I can understand that, right? But I don't know. I guess I have a hard time believing. Like, she's saying she saw, because I would imagine people would have been like, oh yeah, we were leaving, I saw a blob, but I didn't think anything about it. I just kept driving, whatever, right? But she's saying that she saw the dark blob, but that wasn't mentioned until you're in an interview 9 months afterwards. If a police officer's body was found in your friend's yard, I feel like you would be like, fuck, holy shit. Guys, when we were driving, I saw something, and you would tell the police right away, because your friend's father, I don't know if was he retired by then? No, your friend's father was a police officer, or retired. I don't care. I don't know what the fuck he was. Couldn't just be like, oh my God, Brian Albert Jr. Let me talk to your dad. Your dad is like in law enforcement, right? Whatever. Let me talk to your dad. Oh my God, because like I saw this, I saw that, blah, blah, blah. But did that not happen? Or did she try to do that and they're like, oh, shush, shush, don't say anything about that? Or I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Oh my God. I'm so grateful for all the other trials we had where the investigators, police, law enforcement did such an excellent fucking job. Prosecutors, oh my God. Let's not take them for granted. Maybe we were taking them for granted. Because now when I'm like in this case, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Albert?
Yes.
And you would think that as the trial progresses, you would have more questions answered. I have more questions. Questions and questions and questions. Just mountain loads of them.
Brian Albert Sr. might have been there?
Yes.
And you knew the Alberts well enough to know the names that we just discussed, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to that, the McCabe's were related to the Alberts.
Well, okay, yeah, we haven't, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't gotten into yet. We haven't, the jury has not seen any autopsy photos of John O'Keefe yet, so we haven't gotten to there yet. Definitely we'll wait for the experts to speak about that. And then we haven't gotten to like other surveillance footages that has been released to the public so far. So I'm just waiting and chilling.
Correct?
Yes.
And you knew Jennifer and Matt McCabe before that night, right?
I'm sorry, can you?
Yes. Before January 28th of 2022, you knew Jennifer and Matt McCabe.
Yes.
You had been to their home before,
Who's home?
the McCabe's home.
I don't recall.
You'd driven their daughters around, correct?
I have, yes.
And you had actually pet sat for the McCabe's golden doodle, correct?
Correct, yes.
Their home.
Golden Doodle?
Yes.
And so the answer to my previous question is certainly you've been to their home, correct?
Yes.
And their golden doodle was named Bailey, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you knew Jennifer McCabe well enough that you called her by a nickname,
Hi,
correct?
Kiki.
Yes.
What was the nickname that you referred to
JJ?
Jennifer McCabe by?
JJ?
And you knew that JJ was Nicole Albert's sister, correct?
Yes.
Now, on the night of January 28th,
I don't think the juries has seen pictures of his arm. Have they? I don't think so. Which witness would they have showed it? Which witness would they have shown it to for the jury to see? I don't remember that. I don't think so. I don't think they did. No, I don't think they did. Do you guys remember which witness? Was it paramedics? Oh, the scratch. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I remember there was a paramedic that talked about the burrows or the furrows, or I don't know what the fuck they did. The burrows, the furrows, right? Was it with that paramedic? With Nuttall? Paramedic Nuttall, right? And was it only the arm that was shown, or was it just the arm, right? Not like the actual autopsy photos, right? Okay, I think I remember the arm being shown, but not everything else. Yeah, if you want to, Greg, I appreciate it. Thanks, but you don't have to. You're right. It was just the arm. Okay. Yeah. No. You're right. I think I do remember just the arms because they're talking about the furrows, the burrows, or whatever it was that he said.
into the 29th, you saw Brian Albert Sr. After he came back to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You were on the first floor of that residence the whole night, were you not?
Yes.
And you have a specific memory of Brian Albert Sr. walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was with paramedic Nuttall.
Brian Albert Sr. was walking Chloe through the first floor of that house. He maintained control of Chloe's collar, did he not?
He did, yes.
You like dogs, right?
I do.
But you didn't pat Chloe, correct?
I have, yes.
That night.
No.
You've never pet sat for Chloe, correct?
No.
But you did hang out regularly at the Albert home for years because of your friendship with Brian Jr., correct?
Yes.
Which meant that you have had contact with Chloe over the years, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with me that Chloe's a very different dog than Bailey in the McCabe's Golden Doodle, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
Bailey is a friendly dog, is he not?
Objection.
Sustain.
Chloe is not friendly, correct?
Objection.
I'll let you have that. Can you answer that?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, Chloe is not a friendly dog.
I mean, I would say so, yeah.
It was clear to you that she is not good with people, correct?
I'm not aware.
On January 28th and 29th, while you were in the kitchen dining room area, you'll agree with me
But
that
she agreed that Chloe's not friendly, right?
she is not good with people, correct?
I'm not aware. I'd say so.
Can you answer that?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, Chloe is not a friendly dog.
I mean, I would say so, yeah.
It was clear to you that she is not. 28th and 29th,
Okay.
while you were in the kitchen dining room area, you'll agree with me that there was music playing for most of the night, correct?
For a decent amount, yes.
And that area of the house has surround sound speakers?
Yes.
Everybody was in a good mood?
Correct, yes.
Talking?
Yes.
Drinking?
Yep.
Singing?
I don't remember.
Dancing?
Yeah.
Where is CrimeCon, or what is CrimeCon? What is it? Where is it? When is it?
And all the action was in the kitchen dining room area, correct?
Yes.
And that was where your attention was mainly focused, was it not?
It was, yes.
Because that's where everybody was.
Yes.
You were not monitoring the basement door, were you?
No.
And you never went down to the basement, correct?
No, I did not.
Prior to January 28th of 2022, you knew who Colin Albert was, correct?
Yes.
You knew that he was your friend Brian Jr.'s first cousin.
Hey,
correct?
handsome
Correct.
devil.
When you were at 34 Fairview, you did see Colin there, correct?
I did, yes.
You believe that he got there shortly after Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Julie Albert left the residence, correct?
At some point, yeah.
And you say at some point, that's because you're not sure of the exact time when he got there, correct?
Correct.
You're also not sure of the exact time when he left, correct?
I would say 11:30, 11:45, around there.
He wasn't somebody who was important to you that night, was he?
I
Wait,
would say
When he got
at some point, yeah.
And you say at some point, that's because you're not sure of the exact time when he got there, correct?
Correct.
You're also not sure of the exact time when he left, correct?
I would say 11:30, 11:45, around there.
He wasn't somebody who was important to you that night, was he?
Not really, no.
You weren't paying attention to monitor when he came or when he left, were you?
oh, it's in Nashville. Oh, interesting. May 31 to June 2nd.
No. I said no.
You never physically watched him walk out the door, correct?
I don't remember.
You can't even say which door he walked out, correct?
I don't know.
I just don't know if I could just really believe it, because she wasn't formally interviewed until like 9 months later. Like, how would you really know your timelines, right? If she said that, like, oh, it was before we did the countdown to Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, that would kind of give like a memory to tie it to. But saying 11:30 to 11:45, like, are you sure?
You never saw him get picked up.
I did not know.
You never saw any car arrive for him.
I don't know.
And you never saw how he got home.
No.
Now, on January 29th of 2022, after midnight, your
Oh, cool. Yeah, take some pictures. That sounds really interesting. I only know of Nancy Grace in that name. I wonder, is Vinnie Politan going to be there? I only know of like law and crime people and court TV people. Nancy Grace, of course, I've heard of because she's huge.
brother Ryan Nagel and you lived in the same home, correct?
At the time, yes.
At about 12:15 to 12:20, you texted your brother Ryan for a ride home, correct?
If that's what the timestamp says, yes.
Do you have a screenshot of that text message?
Somewhere, yes.
Are there any like YouTubers going? Like Emily Baker, Laura, do they go to this?
Did you provide that to any investigator or assistant district attorney?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether any assistant district attorney or investigator asked you for a copy of that text message?
I don't know.
Is that text message still on your phone?
I don't know.
Did you
Sorry,
delete-
what text message? Shit. Oh, God. Do we have messaging text messages now?
If that's what the timestamp says, yes.
Oh, is it a text message where the brother texted her? Okay. 2:20, you texted your brother. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
You lived in the same home, correct?
At the time, yes.
At about 12:15 to 12:20, you texted your brother Ryan for a ride home, correct?
If that's what the timestamp says, yes.
Do you have a screenshot of that text message?
Somewhere, yes.
Did you provide that to any investigator or assistant district attorney?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether any assistant district attorney or investigator asked you for a copy of that text message?
I don't know.
Is that text message still on your phone?
I don't know.
Did you delete that text message?
I don't
Objection,
know.
Your Honor.
So let's move this along, Mr. Vang.
When you texted Ryan that night, you were contacting him because you thought it was an appropriate time for you to leave, correct?
Yeah.
How long did it take your brother Ryan to get to the Albert home after that text message?
I don't know.
EDB Runkle and Rob will be there, but not as speakers. Oh, okay. I recognize those people.
Was it an hour?
I don't think so, no.
Rob is the lumber, the woodworker, right? Because I think he was the one who talked a lot about the what's it called? Remember when Johnny Depp's bed was broken? The bed frame was broken. Law and Lumber.
Was
Or is that someone
a half
else?
hour?
I do not know.
So you
Oh,
have
it
no
is, right?
idea
Okay.
how long it took him to get there and how long you stayed after you texted him, correct?
I don't know, no.
By the time you're texting Ryan, Ms. Nagel, how much do you think you would have to drink since 6 or 7 p.m.?
A decent amount.
Would you say that another word for it would be a lot?
No.
What were you drinking that night?
Michelob Ultras.
And how many did you have?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Did you bring your own Michelob Ultras to the party?
I don't know.
You don't remember whether you brought any beer to the party?
I don't know.
Where was the beer?
I either brought it or I don't know. I don't remember. It was 2.5 years ago.
Where was it within the home?
In the fridge.
You have no memory of like running out of beer that night, correct?
I don't remember. No.
There appeared to be plenty of beer to go around, correct?
For myself, yeah.
Between the time that you texted your brother Ryan and the time he arrived, it's fair to say that you changed your mind about going home with him, correct?
Yes.
You changed your mind while you were still inside the Albert home, correct?
I did not say that. No.
Well, I'm asking you now.
No.
You changed your mind only after you left the residence and went out to talk to him?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was like, if Jen McCabe offered to give you a ride, why not just take that and then text your brother and be like, oh, hey, never mind, Jen McCabe's going to give me a ride. Unless she wanted her brother to come in and hang out with them inside the house, right? Emily's going to be there. Brandy Churchill is going. Ickmel went there last year. There were so many. When this is done, she pulled the website. I'm excited. How much are tickets? Are they expensive? Is it like a 3-day thing? Is it hard to get tickets?
You claimed on direct examination that he was the one that said, why don't you stay longer?
No, that's not what I said.
Who was it that said that you wanted to stay longer?
Myself.
So you told him that you wanted to stay longer, correct?
Yeah. I did.
And when you went
Oh, the
outside,
potatoes are
you
gonna be
learned
there?
that he'd come and his friend, is it Ricky D'Antuono? How do you pronounce the name?
It's Ricky D'Antano.
D'Antano.
The driver.
Ryan had come in Ricky D'Antano's gray Ford F-150 truck, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
If I butchered that. When you went outside, you saw that your brother Ryan was in Ricky D'Antano's gray Ford F-150 truck, correct?
3-day never standard tickets. Is there like a 1-day ticket that's cheaper? How much are VIP tickets? What? Is this like Coachella or something? It's like Coachella prices. I think isn't Coachella general admission like 400, 300, and then VIP is like 800 or something?
Correct, yes.
He was sitting in the front passenger seat of the truck, correct?
Ryan, yes.
The truck was parallel to the Albert's residence, correct?
Yes.
It was not parked in the driveway.
No.
The truck was facing toward Chapman Street, going up the hill, correct?
Yes.
So Ryan's seat would have been the closest to the property, right? The passenger seat?
I'm sorry, closest to the what?
To the Albert home.
Yes, correct.
You walked down the driveway to get to the truck, correct?
Yes.
Dave's SUV was in the driveway at that point, was it not?
Yes.
And at that point, it's like that. I want to go back, if I can, to when you were inside the house, because you had testified that when you were inside, you looked out the window and you saw a different vehicle, correct?
I did, yes.
That was the black SUV.
Yes.
And you've testified that you saw that from within the house, you saw that black SUV move 2 times, correct?
More than 2.
So it was at first parked near the mailbox,
Yes.
and then you saw it move forward, right?
Yes.
And then you saw it move forward again to near the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And was there a third time that you saw it move?
I saw it pull up, stopped, pulled up again, stopped, pulled up again by the flagpole, stopped. That's all I saw.
All right, and that was all while you were inside the house, correct?
Correct, yes.
And, when it was pulling up like that, Ms. Nagel, it wasn't going 80 miles an hour, correct?
It was not, no.
It wasn't going 50 miles an hour, correct?
I mean, I didn't have a radar gun on me, but no.
It was going at a safe speed, correct?
Yeah.
It wasn't going a very long distance, correct, each time?
No.
It's a matter of several feet, correct, adjusting its position?
Just pulled up and stopped a few times.
Right. And as you saw it pull up and stop a few times from within the home, its direction was always forward, correct?
From what I saw, yes.
You never saw that car back up, correct?
No.
You certainly never saw it speed at a crazy pace backwards, correct?
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Now, I'd asked you about the text messages that you had with your friend Ryan, and you could not recall whether any
I mean, okay, the state prosecutor must have something up their sleeve or something, because how are they getting Karen for like intentionally killing John O'Keefe? Because if Karen and John were in the car, they were arguing, they must have seen, maybe they didn't see people going in and out of the house, or sorry, maybe they didn't see someone going inside of the house, maybe they didn't see the cars in the driveway. It just doesn't make sense to me why you would want to murder your boyfriend in front of someone else's house, and you know that they're like law enforcement. and then just leave him there. That's weird to me too. Unless she was like really fucking drunk, was an accident. I don't know. There's no solid story in my head. There's no solid like. It's all just kind of like maybe this, maybe that, possibly this, possibly this. I don't know. Kind of weird.
Investigator or assistant district attorney asked you for screenshots of that, correct?
My friend or my brother?
Did I say friend?
You did, yes.
Thank you for correcting me. I did mean your brother Ryan. Thank you. And I appreciate the fact that you're paying attention. At least one of us is.
Yeah.
So I asked you about the screenshots of the text message.
No, but like, how do they know that she did it intentionally? Like, I don't know. I feel like we're in day 11. I guess we'll get to it at some point. But how were they able to hammer her? How were they able to charge her with intentionally killing John O'Keefe? They must have something up their sleeve that we just have to wait for.
Just that you had with your
Hey,
brother
Mama
Ryan,
Jama.
and whether any investigator or assistant district attorney had asked you for them, correct?
I don't remember.
Didn't remember, right. But somebody did ask you for a screenshot, correct?
Oh, that was mentioned in the opening statement. Okay, so they'll probably have an expert to testify about that, but the car going over 60 feet at 24 miles per hour? Okay. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing today? How's it going?
Yes.
Who was that?
JJ McCabe.
And by JJ, you mean Jennifer McCabe?
Correct, yes.
When JJ asked you, do you remember when it was that JJ, Jennifer McCabe, asked you for a copy of those screenshots?
I do not remember, no.
Did you provide them to Jennifer McCabe?
I did, yes.
Did Jennifer McCabe, when she asked you to provide her with those screenshots, claim that she was an investigator in this case?
Objection.
You can answer that.
Do you mind repeating that, please?
Or when Jennifer McCabe, or as you called her, JJ, asked you for screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan, did Jennifer McCabe tell you that she was investigating this case?
No.
And you have no memory of providing those screenshots to any investigator other than Jennifer McCabe, correct?
I don't remember, no.
Oh, she gave it to Jen McCabe. Okay, gotcha. Because I'm like, how does the defense know about her screenshots then if none of it was ever provided? Okay.
Okay. Now, when you're ultimately leaving the residence, it's about, I think you said 1:45 a.m. is your best guess?
Yes.
You walked out which door?
The front door.
And that would be the one to the left, right? The real front door of the house.
Yes, correct.
That door faces right to the front lawn, correct?
Yes.
You left with Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Sarah Levinson, correct?
Correct.
And you all went out the same door, correct?
I know what door I went out. I don't know about, it could have been. I don't know if they went through the side, but yeah.
Fair to say that walking out the front door of that house, you saw no body on that front lawn in front of you, correct?
When I walked out?
Correct.
No.
None of the other three people yelled out that they saw a body, correct?
Correct.
You got into Jennifer McCabe's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And you were seated behind the driver, correct?
Yes.
And the driver was Matthew McCabe, correct?
Correct.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat,
Yes.
and Sarah Levinson was sitting next to you behind the front passenger, correct?
Yes.
Matthew McCabe backed the car out of the driveway and then headed up toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
That meant that the passenger side of the vehicle was closest to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
So that meant that Sarah Levinson and Jennifer McCabe were in the seats that were closest to the Albert home, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. As Matthew McCabe was driving that vehicle alongside the Albert property
Yeah,
line,
because she was sitting behind Matt.
Jennifer McCabe in the front passenger seat and Sarah Levinson in the rear passenger seat were the closest two people to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
And as the car passed in front of the Albert home, you saw no tire tracks in the snow, correct?
I don't remember.
Right.
I know. I can't wait to hear from Jen McCabe. Honestly, I don't know. I wanted to hear. I really wanted to hear from Colin, but I'm just like, Colin's just gonna say he left. Okay, I gotta hear from Jen McCabe. Jen McCabe. That's a huge fucking one right there. And then the other friend that was with Karen Reed. Also, I would love to hear from Karen Reed as well. Love to hear from her.
Now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes.
But I'm more excited for Jen McCabe.
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
A black object, yes.
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black blob, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct, yes.
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony that this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today, after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just
What? Lolly said what now? Sorry, I tuned in at the wrong time. Lolly asked me how big it was. Sorry. Okay. I was reading the chat. I get distracted.
yes,
You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black log, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never formed tire tracks in the snow, correct?
I don't remember.
You claim now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes,
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
a black object. Yes,
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black log, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct. Yes,
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony that this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today.
Today.
After
Okay.
12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just told him right now. Yeah.
Yeah, Lally, when you say Lally, you mean Mr. Lally.
Yes, Mr. Lally. Correct. Yes.
Mr. Lally just asked you during this trial, again,
Yeah.
right before this jury. That's the first time you've ever been asked or ever given an answer as to how big that object was, correct?
Not necessarily. No.
Hi, good guy. How are you doing
Did you review
today?
any report
What's
that
up?
was taken when the investigators spoke to you regarding this case before taking the stand today?
No.
You've never testified in a grand jury regarding this case, correct?
Correct.
You've never testified in any hearing regarding this case, correct?
In this hearing, in this case,
Besides today.
No grand jury, no federal. Really? Okay.
And you would agree with me,
No, I was the grand jury. Oh no, that's not public, is it? Grand jury stuff. It's the I'm getting grand jury mixed up with preliminary hearing.
that it is nowhere on record that this black object that you talk about was ever 5 or 6 feet long prior to telling the jury that today.
Objection.
You have to ask that differently, Mr. Unity.
Today, this afternoon, is the first time that you've provided testimony or information to any official regarding this case, that the object was 5 or 6 feet long.
no.
I'm sorry?
No.
Who did you tell prior to today?
About what?
Okay, I thought we were talking about the fact that you've now testified that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long. You recall that?
Today, yes.
And my question to you was, you've never mentioned that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long until the last hour or so when Mr. Lally questioned you about it, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you were passing the property, you did not think it was a body.
At the time, no.
So if Lolly, if she never mentioned the size, why would Lolly ask her how big was it? I feel like Lolly, that made it even more worse for your witness. Lolly shouldn't have asked how big it was. Lolly should have been like, "Oh, you saw that? Okay, that's right. Let's move on." Because introducing the 5 to 6 feet long is weird. Because why wouldn't she mention that before, right? Why wasn't that asked before? Oy, oy, oy.
You claim that you told everyone in the car that you saw something, correct?
Correct.
And your friend Sarah
Yeah, I tried getting some of the other court docs for this case, but I couldn't find them. I don't know if I was just like, I just couldn't find it, or if their court website was just not working. But I wasn't able to get any of the court docs for this. Just whatever I found on Google.
said what? Or something to that effect, correct?
Correct.
And there was no further conversation after that, correct?
Not that I can remember. No.
And you didn't think that it was a person who was in trouble, correct?
Objection.
Did you think that? At what time, Mr.?
When you were leaving the property, after leaving the house at 1:45 a.m. and getting into the McCabe vehicle and passing the Albert lawn, you did not think that you saw a person who was in trouble, correct?
No.
Or a person that may have needed help, correct?
I don't know. No.
We should have
And
to go
you
soon.
were
Hold
right
on.
there, correct? Passing the property?
I was passing the property.
Not
Yes.
as close to the property as your friend Sarah Levinson, but you were in the back seat on the driver's side, correct?
Correct.
And you were in a car such that if you thought that you saw something that could have been a person, all you had to do was tell the driver, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell the driver that you saw somebody who was in trouble?
Well, I said it out loud in the car.
So is it your testimony now that you said out loud in the car, there's a
Aaron says, to be honest, I think Karen did hit him. I wonder if he hit his head on the fire hydrant, maybe stood up, walked, passed out, and then have no proper evidence. There'd be no way driven. Because I was thinking, like, okay, what if Karen, like, slight tapped him, he fell over, got, like, a thing on the back of his head, Chloe came out, jumped the fence, attacked him. Like, I don't know. I was like, what if it's just, like, an amalgamation of, like, different shit just happening to him? Or what if it's like a third party that hasn't even been named in the trial? What if it's just someone else? I don't fucking know. It's such a mystery. If only there was a ring camera footage, surveillance, anything. Ugh.
person who's in trouble.
That's not what I said, no.
You didn't mention a person at all in the car, correct?
No,
You did not tell Matthew McCabe, hey, stop the car, correct?
I did not know.
If you had seen a person in the snow lying there, you would have done something about it, correct?
Objection.
Sustained in that form.
You didn't ask Matthew McCabe to stop.
No,
You didn't ask him to back up.
nope,
You didn't ask him to check on whatever it was.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow that.
no.
You had your phone with you, correct?
Yeah,
Your phone was working, correct?
I don't remember.
You used that phone to text your brother.
Hello. Hi.
An hour and a half before.
Are you testifying today that your phone was completely out of charge?
I don't remember, no.
Text your good friend Brian Albert Jr. to tell him that you saw somebody lying on his front lawn?
Did I text him
Yes.
that night?
As you are supposedly seeing this black object, in the
Objection.
immediate aftermath of that, did you text Brian Albert Jr. to tell him about that black object?
So in that form, it's sustained. Ask it differently.
Well, because she thought it was
You had your
nothing.
friend
and she
Sarah
was drunk
Levinson
and
with
just
you,
laughed
correct?
it off,
I
right?
did in the car, yes.
You knew she was a nurse, correct?
Yeah,
You didn't tell your friend Sarah that you just saw somebody lying in the snow during a blizzard who might need some help, correct?
I did not know.
That Brian Jr.'s father was a police officer, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
So let's move this. Are you just about done with this line of questioning? I'll give you a little bit more.
There's a couple more questions.
Okay,
I'm done.
go ahead.
You knew that he was a police officer, correct?
Yes,
And obviously a first responder as a police officer, right?
yeah,
And you knew that that was Jennifer McCabe's brother-in-law, correct?
Yes.
And Jennifer McCabe was in the car with you, correct?
yes.
You didn't tell Jennifer McCabe or JJ to call her brother-in-law.
Karen's responsible for his death. She even admitted it. Yeah, the thing that stands out the most so far about Karen Reed and what the state has presented is multiple witnesses saying, Karen saying that I hit him, or did I hit him? So that's the biggest thing that's had stood out to me so far. But subsequently, there's just been a lot of just there's just been a lot of fuckery, I guess, that has just been happening here and there and here and there that maybe we'll get to at some point with the expert testimonies. There has to be something up the prosecutor's sleeve. But I would say, like, initially it was like, yeah, I was starting pretty strong with the I hit him, did I hit him, I hit him, did I hit him? But I don't know. Now we're just kind of like, okay, I'm just kind of a little disappointed, you know? People were interviewed months later. People were interviewed way later. People were interviewed together. I don't know. Just all around, this investigation just seemed really, really bad.
Correct?
No.
The fact of the matter is, you did nothing, right?
Yeah,
And that's because you did not see a body on that lawn, correct?
Objection.
Is that true? Can you answer that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You didn't see a body on that lawn.
I mean, I don't know what I saw, but I saw an object.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours, is that correct?
Yeah,
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
yes.
You were drunk, right?
Some would say, yeah.
You would say.
Yeah,
You believe that except for Matt McCabe, who was driving, everybody in the car was drunk, right?
Objection.
I don't know.
I'm going to let that answer stand.
You have previously testified, I'm sorry, strike that. You have previously given a statement indicating that you believe that everybody in that car except for Matthew McCabe was drunk. Do you deny that?
I don't remember at this moment.
All right. You told investigators that when Brian Albert Jr. called you the next morning and you found out about the tragedy the previous night, you, quote, put two and two together, correct?
I did, yes.
And when you put two and two together, you did not call the county police, correct?
I did not know.
Not call the state police, correct?
Nope.
Not call
Oh,
the
okay. So she did put the two and two together. Okay.
district office.
No.
You would agree with me that you just sat on this revelation, correct?
I would.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, that's sustained in that form.
And you were not interviewed by any investigator in January, February, March, or any time over the spring or summer of 2022, correct?
I don't remember the time frame, but not right after, no.
And when an investigator finally spoke to you, it was Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
He was the one who took your statement on October 12th of 2022, correct?
If that was the date and time, yes.
And that was over 8 months after you were driving past the Albert home at around 2 a.m. while you were drunk and supposedly seeing some black object, correct?
Before 2 a.m., yes.
And you know, Ms. Nagel, that as of October of 2022, the defense had, in this case, had publicly announced that
Objection, Your Honor.
had a soft
All
body on that
right. So that question's improper. I'm going to strike that question.
What was he gonna say?
No further questions.
All right. So we're going to break. I have to bring you back tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. So jurors, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't
Sorry,
do
did you
any
say I have no
independent
further
research or
questions?
investigation
Sorry, I
into
missed
this
that part.
case. If you have, do not. So strike that question.
Publicly announced that
Objection, Your
had
Honor.
a soft
All
body on that
right. So that question's improper. I'm going to strike that question.
No further questions.
All right. So we're going to break.
Okay, no further questions. She's like, oh my god, the cross-examination is over. Thank fucking God. Okay, well, let's see if Lolly will patch things up in redirect. We'll see. Oh boy, yeah, that was. I actually thought it would have been more heated between Caitlin, Albert. But yeah, the cross-examination was definitely way more heated with her. It's because I didn't know what information she had. I thought she would just go up there and just say that, like, yeah, I went outside, told my brother that I'm good. I saw a black SUV, and then that's it. I went inside. That's all. But I didn't know that she saw a black blob when she was leaving with the other three people. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, the issue that the jury might have is that, oh, okay, well, like, why did you not say that before? Why, wasn't until 8 months until you were in a interview with Michael Proctor that you mentioned it? But I don't know, maybe there's text messages. Maybe she did try to mention it earlier and then it just, because I think she said she texted Jen McCabe about some stuff. So I wonder, maybe she told Jen immediately afterwards or something, or what did her and Jen discuss about? I'm gonna have to re-listen to that. I was reading the chat a lot today. He was saying no one interviewed her after the defense publicly stated the prosecution has no witness. Wait, he was saying, okay. All right, yeah, that was a lot. So, do you guys think Jen McCabe's gonna come on tomorrow? Oh, you know what? Probably not, right? It's probably gonna be her brother, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lolly called the other two people that were in the brother's car. Because I'm trying to think, when are we gonna get to McCabe? Because he's moving through all the family members in like clumps. So it's probably gonna be her brother, the other people that were in the car, and then maybe Jen McCabe, right? Maybe Jen McCabe. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I have to go. I have someone who's here to come look at windows and stuff like that. So I can't really hang around, but it was nice being here with y'all. I appreciate listening to you guys about, what your thoughts are about the case so far. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all. We posted the cross-examination of Caitlin Albert. If you haven't seen that, that's been posted up there. And the cross-examination of her father. And yeah, interesting case. Star Mood Dog, thank you so much for hanging out. Go Lucky. I don't know. I have to get ready and stuff, but I might try to stream on Twitch. Yeah. Okay. I did hear about that. Yeah. Jen asked for the screenshots of her and her brother. Yeah, I heard about that. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to cover this live tomorrow. I might just do like a late one. We'll see. I just want to listen to Jen McCabe. I just want to hear from Jen McCabe. I want to hear from her so bad. And I want to listen to the experts, okay? I want to listen to the experts. Maybe we get some more bartenders and get the receipts. Maybe someone to identify the glassware. I don't know. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Y'all have a good one. Take care, and I will see you guys later. Feel free to join the Discord if you like. We do have a true crime section. If you want to post anything about this case or anything about any other true crime stuff, feel free to join. And then Discord also has other topics as well. So it's not just true crime stuff. You could also chat about other